Please take your seat. The show is about to begin.
Presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon. Joined as always by my wildly handsome co-host, John Luke Garofalo. Our friend Coop with us, a.k.a. Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, everyone? Good morning and welcome into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-host, John Luke Garofalo and Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, boys?
Oh, I like that slow and staggered this morning.
Yeah, that was a nasty boy this morning. Let's
Nasty boy. Put a little spit on it, little heat.
a little heat on there.
Just lick it a little, flick it with that tongue. Get that fiasco a little feisty on the way out.
Feisty start. It's a feisty start today, boys.
It's Friday.
Man, if we're starting this strong, just imagine what I'm going to be like when I'm actually awake. Like,
Is this
when
a
you
strong
wake
start?
up. This is the strongest start we've ever had, I believe.
I mean, I think it's at least like the sultriest start we've ever had. With a little, there's a little bit of flair going on.
Into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show.
The naughtiest start. Better than the NPR start. That
The NPR start was pretty hot. Pretty hot.
The worst. That's probably the worst start.
The NPR cold start was.
This show sponsored by Owls.
This is
Hoot,
this
hoot,
show sponsored by
hoot,
Owl.
hoot.
What's the show about again?
Now on this week's episode, we will be discussing the life of rocks.
Rocks.
Stay tuned. Oh, keep this bit going. Now, we are here not to discuss rocks, not to mimic Ira Glass, and not to, I guess, even seduce Coop by saying his name funny. What we're here to do is actually talk a little bit.
We're all
fantasy
here
football.
to seduce Coop.
Everyone's here
Welcome
to
in.
seduce Coop.
Welcome to the team.
Too bad producer Keith already has my heart.
Oh,
Secondarily, though, we're here to talk some football. And guys, there was some football that went on last night. And we got some news that came out of that game that we need to go over. First and foremost, we got to talk about it. Tua Tagovailoa was taken to a local hospital with head and neck injuries, suffered on a second quarter sack in Thursday night's game against the Bengals. Before halftime, the Dolphins released a statement saying he was conscious and had movement in all his extremities at the hospital, the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. So we saw the hit. We saw him get taken off, and we know he was coming back after that hit last week. It looks terrifying, but it's good to hear that he's got movement in his extremities, and I'm just sitting here hoping that Tua is okay. Like, first and foremost, that's all that really matters in this situation. We can speculate all we want about the other stuff, but hopefully if there was wrongdoing in the way this was handled from last week, it's investigated and looked into. But like primarily it's just, dude, hope Tua's okay. And we'll keep monitoring that and keep you guys updated as we hear more about Tua.
I mean,
yeah,
but
it
has
all
to be said
matters
though.
about Tua.
Right. But it has to be said that it's a terrible look, at least at face value, kind of a
Awful.
terrible look for the league because, for this to happen last week and then again this week, pretty dicey. I mean, it could just be coincidental, two completely separate incidents, but it doesn't feel like that at first glance. But again, we can't speculate. All we have to do, hope that Tua is back, but not great visually.
Not a great look at all, but yeah, I'm glad to hear he had that movement in his extremities. Like that was a positive sign after seeing his hands on the field afterwards. That
And he
was
flew with the team home, I
He
believe.
flew
Right?
with the team home.
Yeah. I believe he was cleared towards the end of the game to fly with the team home and was discharged. So things are looking okay for him.
They I don't know who was in charge of the replay booth up there, but that was absurd, unnecessary, and ridiculous. The number
Amazon
of times
Prime,
like this was like a traumatic life event for this dude. Know what I mean? And they played it 30 times on the television, close up and in slow-mo for the whole country to see. Like you can show it once. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I often don't. Whenever they do this, and it feels like whenever they're sensationalizing an injury, it just immediately is a turn off. It's just like, why are we don't need to do this. It's unnecessary. You could just tell. I think this Prime production is very new, even from like the announcing crew panel that they have. You could tell that they're not very experienced. A lot of the stuff they're putting together as they go. And that was, it wasn't a good look for them either.
Yeah. No, it feels like why make a spectacle of that? Like, if that's why you think people are going to be entertained and continue to watch, it makes that, like, I don't know, feel like barbaric, right? To just highlight the injuries over and over and over again instead of continuing to highlight the game. Like, man, not cool. But hopefully there's enough outlash or feedback publicly, some of that feedback towards them, that they don't do that in the future.
I have an idea for us. Why don't we stop highlighting the injuries and we'll talk about the game?
Woo.
Let's do it. In other news, on the same side of the ball, though, Tyreek Hill said a Bengals coach disrespected him, and he said, he said a coach whose name he doesn't know said something objectionable, and that Hill plans to find the man and address it with him. So somebody on the Bengals sideline upset Tyreek, and he's going to go find that man.
You know, that one guy's like, oh, shit. Oh, God. He's going to find me. He's just like freaking out right now. He's like an assistant coach or something.
It's probably Eli Apple. That would be my favorite choice.
That would be hilarious.
It was just Eli Apple with a clipboard, and that's who we think the coach was.
Some coach. I don't know.
Wouldn't be
He's wearing like a
surprised.
fake mustache.
We got Scott Fish in the chat saying, "Hey, Coop," in the tag-alongs. Ooh, that's a good one. We got Coop and the Hog and Coop and the tag-alongs now.
And Coop and the Crabs. Don't forget Coop and the Crabs.
Our friend Coop. No
Our
longer.
friend Coop.
Our friend Coop and the tag-alongs.
I like that. Too.
Craig Inier says, "Happy Friday, friends. This week has felt like a month. It has
Facts.
been a long week, Craig, but we are there." Also, producer Keith in the chat, back when we were talking about rocks, he said, "Love rocks." And I just like when I first read this, I thought Keith just came in with like a positive message on a Friday, like, love rocks, guys.
Right? Like something Kiss would say. Love rocks.
But instead, no, he loves rocks, just sitting out there on the ground.
The first time I met Keith, that would have been my first thought. Is that dude loves rocks.
This guy likes rock. This guy has a full collection.
Big rock guy, yeah. Full rock
He's got a
collection.
heavy collection. It's difficult for him to move.
I used to have a rock collection when I was a kid. I don't have one anymore, but
Don't doubt it.
it's somewhere.
Simon. Don't doubt it. Simon's like, I used to have a rock collection, but that was way back there. And he points to, like, his closet.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever collected?
Flashlights.
Flashlights?
I mean, I think I have 7 or 8 fairly. I mean, as far as flashlights go, fairly expensive. Between $50 and $100.
Joe, you have any?
I'm
any
like
weird
looking
collections?
around. I don't know. I don't think I collect anything weird.
JL's like, I'm trying to find my personality.
Yeah, who am I? What's my identity?
Mine's flashlights.
Flashlights.
I put it on my Tinder. Got a nice collection of lamps.
I got high lumens.
What about you, Simon? Give us your top 3, because I'm sure you have a bunch of weird ones.
Yeah, so you got a handful.
Fountain pens.
The weirdest fountain pens I collect, but the weirdest one probably is like hotel keys and empty gift cards. I've got a box of like over 400. Like some of my old driver license are in there, just things that are that shape.
Just
little
like cars. You're
Just
big
cards.
card guy.
I've got hundreds of cards.
Just
sitting
swipes
in
it,
the
and
box.
Simon's like, "Oh,
You win.
He
win.
said Simon is just a hoarder. That's not collecting. I'm not a hoarder. I throw so much stuff away. But
That's
those
not
cards,
correct.
he's like, just take your garbage out, man.
collecting random items."
That's great.
Also, Craig pointed out here, Coop, you need to be very careful with the pronunciation there whenever you're telling people about your
Yes.
flashlight collection.
That's
Otherwise, they might get the wrong idea.
I
That's
was
so
like,
funny because last time I went on Reddit, there was a whole thread about fantasy football analysts, and there's this whole I put it on Twitter. There's this whole diatribe of this guy's like, "Yeah, one dude had a flashlight in his background."
one
And
dude. I
Reddit
think
just goes hand and starts overthinking the whole thing.
I think he's on the Front Yard Fantasy show. Yeah. No, well, I was talking. I mentioned 2 different collections I have just now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You actually said them differently each time.
Right. I did say them differently, Craig. So you actually heard that correctly.
That checks out. Carolina Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey's status versus Arizona Cardinals is in question. McCaffrey has missed 23 of the last 33 games the past 2 seasons, including the final 4 in 2020 because of a quad injury suffered while rehabbing from a shoulder injury. This was when people weren't drafting Christian McCaffrey first overall, it was because of injury concerns, right? That maybe he is injury prone. I didn't think so. I was drafting him first overall most of the offseason. Are you guys concerned about this? Do you think maybe this is showing that Christian McCaffrey might be one of those injury prone players?
I always think back to the comments from last year when they talked about how they were putting in turf for the soccer team because, they were going to have a soccer team play at the same stadium. And then they asked Christian McCaffrey about it. And he says, it is what it is. But he clearly was not happy about the turf. And now we're getting all this news about how turf causes more injuries. It's just like super annoying. And then they announced this week that they're going to install grass for a game that the Chelsea's playing there. So it's like they put in turf to make it cheaper for their own soccer team, and then they're going to put in grass just for the overseas soccer team to play. It's like this dude couldn't be any cheaper. Tepper or whoever owns the Panthers, get out of my face, dude. Put grass in there. It's a nice climate. Like, why do you have to why turf?
Get grass, Tepper.
Touch grass, Tepper.
Touch grass. Come
grass.
on. Yeah. And he's right near Clemson University, home of one of the nation's best turf grass departments. They could easily get some turf grass graduates out there to help them do that. I was just shocked when I learned that turf grass was a major. So anytime it seems semi-relevant, I bring it up. Turf grass.
Like that's a full major. That was the entire major, not like
yeah.
Not like just one class.
Yeah, my friend's little brother majored in turf grass, got a turf grass degree, and has a sick job on a golf course in DC.
It feels like if you decide that is not the path you want to go down, it's probably a pretty bad thing to pursue, right?
Dude, but that's good.
What are you going to do with a turf grass major if you're not in turf grass?
Like, it's like, you become like the people that are like, I hate my job as a lawyer. Like, you just did, you just picked it and you're just like, oh man, you don't, but that is kind of like the cheat code if you love golf, right? Like you show up to any golf course and it's just like your resume it says that you're like a grass master. Like, yeah, unbelievable.
They're like, oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. You're hired. Like,
hired. Yeah.
I have a genius play, dude, right? Because there's plenty of dudes that were like, oh, their resume's like, I was on my high school golf team, and you're coming in with this like turf grass doctorate in grass.
Yeah.
You're like,
Dr. Grass.
I've literally studied grass for the last 4 years. I took 18 hours of classes last semester, all of them about grass. This is what I was born for.
they're like, where'd you study grass? And you're like, all over, just
everywhere, man.
Yeah. Did you go to school for
everywhere?
It? Didn't go to school for it, but I've been checking it out. Like, I've taken a couple peeks at some grass.
I've taken some peeks. Maria says I collect cords. I collect too many cords, and that is probably true.
You're a cord collector, Joe. You got to be a cord cutter. Cord cutter. That's the way.
That's what they say, but I just can't cut my beautiful.
He's the opposite, dude. A cord hoarder.
Cord order.
A quarter. You're a quarter.
I got a cord order.
Cord hoarding. Oh, say that 3 times.
I don't know how I collect board games. I have board games. That's a normal one though. There we go. See, look, normal, if not a little bit nerdy, but still within the normal range.
Yeah, you should have gone with that one. But you already told us about the
yeah, I'm always, what, it's always my mistake. I think lead with hotel keys and then follow up with board games to let them know you're cool.
And bring it back to the normal one.
Yeah, and then go to rocks and be like, I said it was when I was younger, but want to see my rock collection right now.
As a board game collector, what's your favorite one?
That's a tough question, but probably
Monopoly. I used to know the answer.
Viticulture is probably my favorite board game right now. It's a wine making like resource management board game that's really fun. But I saw Scott Fish in the chat down here saying, of note, Jonathan Jones, who now works for CBS but previously worked for the Panthers, said earlier this week, before we all got super worried, that this injury was cause for concern. So if Jonathan Jones is saying that, then we probably do need to be concerned about this. Man, it's just like, Jail, like that question I asked a minute ago. Do you think he is injury prone and those concerns are valid, or this is just another injury?
I mean, I don't think injury prone is like a thing. I don't think that's an actual thing. I think that's just like a a term that we use to describe our biases with how we trying to predict these players and their injury. But just think about it, like unless you have an injury that is ongoing, like something that you're dealing with for a while, it's not something that typically it's not like you're more likely to break your finger. It's not how bodies work. So yeah, I don't think injury prone is the right word to use, but the fact that he's still dealing with this quad injury is concerning, that they couldn't, rehab this throughout the offseason if it is from last season, or that if it's not, then what's going on and what caused this, right? What was like the thing that's really tweaking this? And maybe it's something that's, it wasn't like a game time thing. I'm not sure, but I think we need more insight into it.
Yeah.
Especially do they say if it's a strain, a pull, then some of these like quad bruises can be super serious too. Like the one that Rob Gronkowski had. I don't know if you heard the details on that, but that was like disgusting. He like couldn't sleep and had to have like liters of blood drained from his leg every night. So I don't know, quad injuries can be all over the place, especially because it's a bundle of muscles. You know what I mean? Like they differ so drastically one from the next.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not seeing if it was a strain, a pull, a bruise, or what. I don't know if you're seeing that, JL.
No, I can't find it. I was looking the whole time JL was talking. I wasn't listening at all. Sorry.
I thought you were buying like some like Zay Jones NFTs or something. Or what's the Thursday night game next week?
Actually, I don't even know. I put a bunch up on the market. I think I might be getting out of the NFT game.
I can't wait for the next financial advice with Coop segment. Like we're done with the Gerald Everett NFTs.
Yeah, we're moving on to the next thing. We're already playing with house money on that. I think I'm looking at this board game called Viticulture on my other screen. I think I'm gonna get a vineyard.
You gonna pull the trigger?
I think I'm
getting a vineyard. That would be sick. Yesterday, you ever just like scroll on Airbnb and look at places you'd never be able to afford just for fun?
No.
Well, you should. And I typed in like vineyard, just like, can you rent a vineyard? Like, and I clicked entire place. I don't want a room. I want to like stay in the whole place. But what I found was there were castles. Then I was like, oh shit, I'm typing in castle, right? I just typed in castle anywhere in the world. You, for very reasonable prices all throughout the world, can just rent these massive, like truly medieval castles. And I have a new goal now. Like I'm doing that. I'm getting a bunch of friends together. We're going to Europe and we're renting a mega castle out there.
I think the next FYF retreat needs to be in a castle.
Make it happen, G-Men J. But the thing is, you got to pick the right time of year for that business, right? Because I imagine it's pretty cold in the winter and pretty warm in the summer.
I was looking probably don't have the best insulation.
I was looking at June prices, so maybe that's why they were so cheap. Is because it's like 140 degrees inside this like stone sauna.
Just a pizza oven essentially.
It's raining and it gets all steamy inside, and you're like, no.
Sounds great.
You're just like melting with the steam.
It's all just a trap. There's someone there to like. It's like the what's that? The Most Dangerous Game. Someone's there to like eat you. You're just someone's meal.
Yeah, I'm in.
I'm in.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, why'd you have to remind me? I feel like once every 3 or 4 years, that short story comes up, and I just remember reading it in middle school, and some people just like taking it on as like a little bit too much of their personality. Like it was like the first like
it's like The Great Gatsby.
It was like the first like deep story that they read in middle school. Know what I mean? It was right around that era where you switched from like Junie B. Jones and Magic Treehouse to like literature, right?
Which story
it's
was
The
it?
Great Gatsby of middle school. That's all
Exactly.
You have to say, Simon.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry if we just offended anybody who's out here like The Great Gatsby is my favorite book.
No
While
way.
you guys ponder that decision, we got a lot of stuff coming up here. We're going to be reviewing this Dolphins-Bengals games and then previewing some of these Week 4 games we got coming up on Sunday. And Juan Carlos Blanco from RotoWire and the Game Day HQ is joining us a little bit later today as well. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network.
Front Yard Fantasy with Simon, JL, and Coop.
JL, I think this is the game everyone's been waiting for, and the moment in this game that we are probably going to have to talk about for at least the next 15 minutes. The Miami Dolphins took down the Buffalo Bills 21-19, and we got to talk about it. The play of the game, the butt punt.
The butt
Football
punt.
punted straight into Trent Sherfield's abyss between his legs is where that
Booty
football
patootie.
descended. It was straight up there. It could not have been aimed better up that Tuchus. Like, he just went for it. Like, you look at the picture, shout out USA Today photographer that caught that image, because wow, moment of impact, and you can really see just how well aimed between the cheeks that ball was. And Craig said, did y'all see Mark Sanchez's tweet to the punter? I did. Mark Sanchez tweet, stay out of my lane, bro.
That's pretty good.
I love all these self-aware tweets yesterday. Mark Sanchez, Orlovsky, like they're just coming in and like poking fun of themselves.
Yeah.
That's pretty good stuff right there.
Corey, Nando, and Friends, presented by Mayo Media on Bettor Sports Network.
Speaking of TV, last night I tried to watch Aaron Judge.
Did you watch the K-Rod broadcast?
Yeah. So here's the thing.
Rodriguez?
Like I went to ESPN Plus and I'm like, I want to watch this K-Rod thing because they had Roger Clemens and they had Barry Bonds on. Bonds brought up when Clemens hit him on his piece of armor. And
Yeah,
Clemens
exactly.
like, oh, it was a strike, man. It was a strike.
No,
like,
Clemens was like, if you wear, and I don't blame Clemens, if you wear that thing, right, that piece of armor, and you on top of the plate like that, target practice. I'm gonna see if I can hit that joint.
And Clemens, like, it was a strike. Get off the plate is basically what he said.
Yeah, exactly. Get off the
Can you
plate.
imagine, can you imagine the three of them? Like you're Michael Kay, and you're sitting there with Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez,
and Roger.
Three guys who should be in the Hall of Fame and are not. Like who should have been like
wild.
first ballot, slam dunk Hall of Famers.
That's the problem with the game.
We should get them on the show. All three of them together on this show.
That'd be cool. Corey, Nando, and Friends. They're the friends.
We're the friends. I mean, why not, right? They seem like nice guys.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
I started watching the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix last night, which I knew a
Well,
lot.
that looks pretty freaky, man. Is it as frightening and kind of eerie as it looks?
Yeah, it's disturbing. Like, you know, there's no.
You think? He
there-
ate people, Ray. It better be disturbing
Well,
to you.
I know the story. He ate people and I murders. I knew, but I didn't know he was drunk all the time. And
Well,
there's
Ray,
so-
I mean, we've all been there. You get the munchies when you're
Right.
drunk. That would be actually a defense in court. Your Honor, I was drunk the whole time. I was hungry and I needed food, and my neighbor was there.
Right.
What am I supposed to do?
and he had like beer cans all over his place. There was a lot of Miller and Bud. I guess he was not only was he a person of opportunity with the killings, he was a beer drinker of opportunity. Because I don't think you normally do one and the other. You should do one or the other.
I don't want to tell AB or Miller how to do their business, but don't go marketing that Jeffrey Dahmer loved your beer
Right.
while he was eating kidneys.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network. I see Tommy down in the chat saying renting a castle does not make you king, Simon, but pretty cool.
Prove it.
No, I got no interest in being a king. None whatsoever. Can you imagine the responsibility and stress associated with that? And then my biggest fear of all, like, I'm so scared of being dead. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just as a normal guy. When you're king, there's way more people that want you dead than
There's
want me
so
dead.
much
You know what I
incentive
mean? Like,
for you
right?
to be
Like,
dead.
right, like right now, that's a fear already, and like no one really wants me dead for the most part. But if I was king, like God, that fear would be times 100,000.
And think like no other job out there like has the odds of being beheaded if you're the king. Like once
That's
you're the
true.
king, your odds of being beheaded specifically goes up
Like
to
3 times.
45%. Yeah.
Yeah, at least.
I remember one time I was at a trivia night, and they asked, like, according to this data source, like whatever, name 3 of the 5 most dangerous jobs in the United States by like number of deaths per 100,000 or whatever it was. And I wrote president as one of them because I was like, just look at the numbers, like 4 out of 45 or 4 out of 46. Like that's pretty bad odds. Like there's, you can't tell me there's any job with worse than 1 in 11 odds at survival, right? Like, no, thank you. You couldn't. And as soon as I like had that realization, I was like, nope, like I am never going into politics. Like that's my biggest fear. And this makes it even worse.
Pass.
Pass.
I was going to be president, but now that I know the odds, pass.
Pass. Yeah. Not that not that I was ever gonna be president, but I'm not even going for like local county seat of business, something, whatever.
Because it's,
Craig said
it's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah, once you
you're in
start.
there,
First you're on the local
all of a
school
sudden you're
board, then
president.
all of a sudden you're president of the United States.
next thing you know.
Happens
Craig
quick.
said Mario and Luigi were in castles a lot, and you love those two. You love those two.
Trying to start
I'm-
fights, Craig.
No, I have a confession, JL. Something made me rethink Luigi a little bit. I'm not saying I love
I'm
him,
intrigued. I'm intrigued.
but if we were watching the Manning cast and I asked you who's Mario and who's Luigi, what would you say?
Peyton's Mario, Eli's Luigi.
And I fully agree with you. And Eli is the way more charming one on the Manning cast.
Right?
Like, he's the one
just
that I
like a
want to
little
hang out with.
passive.
He's a little bit more passive. He's a little bit cooler. And I think Luigi's worse. Like, he's got some negative qualities with it, but he's the Eli to Mario. And
I
it
think
made
that's
me
a perfect comp. I think
it made
that's
me like
honestly
Luigi a little
perfect
bit
comp.
better.
Okay, if those guys are Mario and Luigi, then who's Wario?
Wow, yeah. Well, Tom Brady's
Tom Brady.
definitely Waluigi.
Wario.
Ben
man.
Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger
Too
is
tall.
Wario.
Easy
Wario.
Wario, yeah. Kyler Murray would be
Without a
Toad.
doubt.
Josh Rosen.
Say Kyler Murray's Toad.
Yeah.
He
Little
is
guy.
Toad.
Hey,
He is
guys!
perfectly Toad.
Let me explain this game to you.
His little vest.
Pretty
What
good.
is that Toad voice? It's terrifying.
I don't know.
Big horror Toad. You know
Mario,
what?
I think Mario Party Toad feels like.
Exactly. Before I start imitating too many other Mario characters, we have a game that went down last night that we wanted to talk about. The Bengals ended up coming out on top in this game, 27-15, bringing them to 200 now, or 500 after starting the season 0-2. They've won their last two games in the span of 5 days, bringing them to 200. Why do I keep saying 200?
I don't
Bringing
know.
them to 500 and maybe looking a little bit more like the team that made it to the Super Bowl last year.
The Dolphins or the Bengals?
Bengals. The Bengals. The
Use
Dolphins
the
didn't make it. To
context clues to figure out who I was talking about there.
The Bengals.
I think it was made it to the Super
Was
Bowl.
it the Dolphins?
That was the giveaway on which team.
So
you're
the
talking about.
Dolphins. Dolphins look great.
I'll let
Yes.
you jump in and talk about the Bengals whenever you want. No, we're talking about the Bengals. The Bengals. Do you think they looked better last night than they have through the first two games of the season?
You asking me? Who's just
Anybody?
staring
This
at
is
me
a
like
show
a
where
dingus?
we're all talking.
I'm just letting
Who's
you
just
guys
in there
do
You
waiting
your
guys
like-
forget how conversation works? I say something and then we talk about it.
Go ahead, JL.
Yeah, the Bengals looked great last night. The Bengals looked great. I don't know if you guys stayed up late enough to watch the Joe Burrow post game interview, but it's pretty interesting to watch or to hear their perspective in the game. Yeah, they look like a complete team. They were able to utilize the run game. Joe Mixon was fed 24 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown, which is great. That's what we want to see. I know we just talked about Joe Mixon yesterday with Andy Behrens. T. Higgins was fantastic, 7 receptions on 9 targets, 124 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase also got worked in. The second wide receiver there, Jamar Chase, 4 receptions on 6 targets and 81 yards. So that 1A, 1B situation working out well for fantasy managers this week.
A lot of our calls from yesterday worked out, and one of them, Simon. I remember you picked T. Higgins to lead the game in receiving yards. I mean, bingo. Actually, Tyreek Hill led the game in receiving yards, but he led the Bengals in receiving yards. And we said, it's going to be matchup based. It's going to be week to week with these two. They do two very different things. T. Higgins is your big split end. Jamar Chase is your flanker that sometimes plays in the slot. Depending who the other team has for personnel is going to dictate who has the big game. And yesterday, T. Higgins clearly had the better matchup for what he does because he was just going up and above whoever is covering him, and worked out pretty well.
Yeah. And it was decent coverage. They just liked the matchup. Know what I mean? Like it was over and over again. He'd be decently covered, and just dude was making plays.
Nice.
That was fun to watch. That was the T. Higgins that you like seeing out there on the field. And JL, I think you like it when T. Higgins does well. I'm not sure what about your screen's making me say that right now, but it must have been a good night for you watching.
Right
T
back
out
there. Boom, nailed it.
Strong.
Yeah, it's my trophy behind you that makes me think of that, JL. Thanks for taking that opportunity just again to remind me that you still have my trophy in your background.
Oh yeah, see that up there? That's Simon's right there.
Congratulations,
Yeah, well,
Simon.
Come and get it, big boy.
Did you win the year before, JL?
2 years ago.
You're such a loser, dude.
You know what it is? That trophy. Jail and I were meeting up in Vegas for the FSGA conference, and I made sure I had room in my bag to bring him the trophy to give it to him. But I did not alert him that I was bringing him a 7-pound, 1.5 foot tall trophy. To a flight that I knew he was just bringing a carry-on, and I showed up in Vegas.
Not only that, but I was also pitching at that conference. So I was pitching for our fantasy to the entire industry. So I had an entire wardrobe ready because I'm gonna go speak on stage.
Right. So throw that out.
I had to throw a bunch of stuff out. My bag was just packed coming home. The TSA agent, of course, pulled my bag aside and was like, I have to check this. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Then he opens it up and there's just a giant, 2-foot heavy metal football trophy. And he just looks at it and looks at me and starts laughing. And I'm like, it's a long story. I was like, it's a fantasy football trophy. And he just starts cracking up. He's a big 49ers fan. And that was the year the 49ers went to the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
That's how you make friends with TSA, dude. You got to bring a little conversation starter with you.
Now I got TSA pre.
Maybe bring your collection of 400 or so hotel keys with you. And
just tell them about it.
The worst thing I ever had to bring through TSA, it was at my old job. And basically there was something going wrong on our assembly line. And so it wasn't putting the software onto these things. And so I had to build this rig basically that was a 3D printed case. And then all of these just wires that I had 20 minutes to just solder this thing together and get something working that I could fly down to Mexico and flash these boards with. So in a shoebox in my bag, I have a 3D printed thing and the entire box is just full of wires and cables and all this stuff. And as I'm about to walk through, I'm like, yeah, this looks like a bomb. This 110% looks like, and I'm sitting there panicking. And yeah, of course they pull my bag and they're looking at it. And I'm like, I don't know how, you can tell this isn't a bomb when you look at it, right? Now that you have it up close, you are the expert who can tell this isn't a bomb, but I was panicked.
One time I was going to a music festival, Bonnaroo, and I'm going through the thing with my bag, and the guy pulls out this big full-size bottle of contact lens solution, which you can't have that much liquid. And I was like, oh, sorry about that. You can throw that away. And the guy's like, no. We actually have this thing. You just run it under here and it tells you if it's bomb water or not. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Bomb water?
Yeah. I don't know. So they do that.
Bomb water.
They do that. They give it back to me. And we're setting up the tents. And my buddy's like, anyone have a knife? And I was like, oh yeah, I have one. And I pull my fishing knife out of my backpack and it's still got fish blood on it. And they're like, didn't you fly here? I was like, oh yeah. I walked through there with a bloody knife. And they're like, you can't have this eye juice with you. Oh, wait.
Eye juice.
And then they gave that back to me. I was like, okay, cool. Good job, TSA. Nailed that.
Good job.
And Scott said, like JL, I got pulled aside at TSA with an FSGA award, and they thought it might be a weapon. Sharp top, pretty blunt object, etc. Scott, that's got to be a problem with everywhere you go, people are handing you trophies.
Just awards.
You can't go anywhere without being handed a trophy, a plaque,
game changer award.
It's tough,
God,
dude.
just over and over and over again.
It's got fish,
It's got to be. It's tough life for the fish.
Right? Everyone bowing down on one knee, and you're like, please continue.
Stop. Just the fish.
No, you're like, go on.
Please continue.
Coop, everybody that was listening here yesterday should probably bow down a little bit to you if they threw some money on that bet that you recommended. Joe Mixon, first-time touchdown scorer, plus 500. And what did he do, Coop?
He scored a teddy.
Yep.
Yeah. Also had a crazy inefficient game, one of the least efficient, and later had an opportunity to score a touchdown multiple times for the one and did not score. But he scored that first touchdown. So plus 500, baby.
All that matters. Yeah. 24 carries for 61 yards, 2.5 a carry. Ugh.
Not great. Not ideal. That's just what Andy Barron's is talking about. That he's getting the opportunity. He's on pace for before this game and still after this game on pace for 100 targets, somewhere in that range, because he got another however many this week. I mean, the usage is there. He just needs to step up and play better. I mean, or the line needs to step up. They went out and got Lale Collins. They improved the line. They got Ted Karras.
The line looked good. last night.
Looked better last night. For
It looked better,
than it
yeah.
has so
Protecting
far.
Joe Burrow it did, but not running the ball. It's crazy,
I don't know if you guys saw the same thing, but watching Joe Mixon run, I just didn't see that like same speed or explosiveness that we're used to seeing. Like he'd get like the edge on a corner and just not be able to like outrun him to break free. And I didn't know if that was just a Joe Mixon, a thing we're seeing in this game, or if that's indicative of something larger, but
he has been dealing with an
didn't
ankle.
look the same.
That's why he
Yeah.
didn't. They said that's why he didn't play much in the fourth quarter last week, because he had like an ankle. So maybe it's that. We'll chalk it up to that. But I mean, if you have him, you start him every week because he's playing like every snap.
That many carries, yeah, 24.
Lock it in.
Do you expect it to get better as the season goes on, or do you think this is just the Joe Mixon experience now? Like, lock it in, you're going to get 24 carries, 65 yards. Like, that's a normal Joe Mixon stat line.
He'll heal, right?
Yeah.
So I think he'll get better, but it's hard to tell because these teams aren't really forthcoming with a ton of like injury information.
Yeah.
And so unless it's something like really definitive, like this player's out for the season, or like this is, it's definitive about a decision they're making, they're not really coming out with like, oh, this is what it is. This is the long-term. Here are the trade-offs with our decisions that we're making. So it's tough to tell.
I'll tell you what, the schedule doesn't get much better. Like they have a pretty rough schedule as far as running goes. When you look at it, it's like there's not many easy teams to run against on that. I mean, it's actually a pretty brutal schedule. If you think about it, their schedule from this point goes Ravens, Saints, Falcons, Browns, Panthers, Steelers, Titans, Bengals, Browns, Buccaneers, Patriots, Bills, Ravens. So it's
they're playing the Bengals.
Sorry, Chiefs was that game.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The Bengals.
Still,
if they were playing the Bengals, it'd probably be their easiest game to run against. Yeah, there's not a lot of easy games in there as far as rushing goes. Maybe the Falcons.
No, I mean, so far, at least what we can say is Joe Mixon's the top scoring PPR running back in week 4 through one game. So hold on to that for a bit, Joe Mixon managers. You got the number 1 week 4 PPR running back at least until like probably minimum 8 minutes into the 1 o'clock games, like at least 1:08 p.m. Eastern time, unless something absolutely crazy happens on that first play. Coop, I got to come back to you for this one too. It's another tight end, and Hayden Hurst got involved early, had the big play early in the game, and then had the touchdown at the end of the game, but not much in between there. But he did have the touchdown and looked fun out there when he had the ball in his hand. I don't want to say like looked good, but it was fun watching him with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I feel like it is funny like that with tight ends. Like you feel like something crazy's happening. This big boy just rumbling around. Like that's how I always felt with Rob Gronkowski. Like when you get it, it's like a train got loose, But with Hayden Hurst, I mean, it's always been the same problem that they have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. Those guys are almost always going to get targets ahead of him, right? So that puts him 4th at best on that pecking order. And now Joe Mixon all of a sudden is getting crazy targets. If you really look at it, he's a 5th target on that team. So if you have nothing else, throw him in there. But to me, one of the less exciting plays, right?
Yeah.
I swear this is the first time I've seen Hayden Hurst since he was drafted. I tweeted that out last night because I know that I've watched him in games, but I can't actually recall ever seeing him in a game until last night.
He did make he made a big play in the overtime game with the Steelers. In the overtime, he made like a nice sideline catch, and he celebrated.
I guess I do remember now some Atlanta time. So the time that he was in Atlanta, there were some games that
the Atlanta time.
time.
Those Atlanta times, yeah. And
We should ask Dio about Hayden Hurst next time.
Hayden Hurst speaks to how difficult it is drafting tight ends in Dynasty, because he was drafted the same year as Mark Andrews, ahead of Mark Andrews. So it's like nobody in their right mind was drafting Mark Andrews ahead of Hayden Hurst. I mean, you just couldn't at the time. So if you got Mark Andrews in Dynasty, you almost certainly kind of backdoored your way into that pick. And then you got pretty much the number 1 tight end in Dynasty right now. So
in a Dynasty League, Jalen and I are in. I believe Hayden Hurst was taken 1st overall in our rookie draft that year.
I believe that is true.
He's such a good dude.
They really needed tight end. And I've been trying to like figure out how to say this entire time. It was when Hayden Hurst was on the string. These Bengals jerseys, I feel like really like they looked clean, but they also like the pants, I feel like really gripped the players' bodies. Do you know what I mean? Like they showed off more in those white pants than you are usually in like the black pants that they're wearing. And when Hayden Hurst had that first big catch and his shirt's riding up a little bit, you saw like his boxers hanging out the back. It was like, is this an underpants commercial or are we watching an NFL game? Because it was like skin tight, shot just from the back. He's bent over, undies sticking out the top, and like white tight pants. And I was like, this is
like,
just a
where's the football? This isn't football.
This isn't
like,
my kind of football.
All of a sudden, I look up, 10 points have been scored, and I've just been staring at Hayden Hurst's ass in those pants the entire time. Like, and I'm like, whoa, when did Joe Mixon get a touchdown?
I was too busy staring at Hayden's ass.
That's why they those Bengals jerseys won that poll yesterday, man.
They did. Scott Fish also
had factor.
He had a question for us in here. We were talking about Joe Mixon's schedule being tough, and he said, speaking of running backs, is James Robinson a top 10 back? Currently RB3. Offense seems to have found a groove, and 9 of their remaining matchups are against bottom 12 defenses.
Wow, dude. I mean, he could easily be. I mean, I think at the very least, he could be one of those guys that isn't RB3 moving forward, but that means he like slots in within the top 10 within the next, by the end of the year, right? Because, I mean, that's kind of how it works a lot of times, is that even if he's tight RB 15 from this point out, he'll probably average out to somewhere like 9-10. But I mean, he looks great running the ball. You can't deny it.
JL, do you think he's a top 10 back rest of the season?
No, I wouldn't go as far as say top 10. I think I have him firmly as an RB2, solid RB2 rest of the season. And I think he's earned his way to that. Anybody who's been listening to this more than 2 days knows that I have not been a James Robinson truther or a John Robinson truther, whoever that is,
or Jim Robinson,
or Jim Robinson. Yeah,
don't even get us started about Jam.
Yeah, don't even get me started. But James Robinson has looked good. He's gotten the workload, and so I think we have to be realistic here. And RB2. I think he's a solid RB2 is the most likely outcome for him. Definitely top 10 upside though.
Easily.
Guys, we're gonna continue breaking down this game in a moment. Heading over to the Dolphins side of the ball. Then we'll be previewing some of these Week 4 games you got coming up this weekend. And Juan Carlos Blanco from RotoWire and the Game Day HQ is joining the show a little bit later today as well, to talk some of his favorite props and bets for this week. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
I gotta tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. Decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fensty's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close by. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fensty doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? Like, it makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for waffles.
Breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got like, what was it, like a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's the equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got this steak sandwich, which was
steak sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man.
I'm not an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that.
No, Alfredo, that's what he gets at the steakhouse.
Do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse and get pasta?
To Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had like a little bit of everything. That's why. I didn't realize they were famous for the waffles. Hey, look.
The name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffles.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network. We sent Coop away on a mission for a little bit. JL, do you want to tell him a little bit about what Coop's doing right now for us? Man, and if I have a mission for you too, and it's to unmute yourself and then tell us again.
Damn it. I said Coop's pooping.
Oh,
that's his mission.
Tommy in the chat saying 15-minute speech.
15-minute speech.
Yeah, 15-minute speech. Dale, he said that before you even said he's pooping. Like the 15-minute speech, Tommy was like, yeah, it's going to be a minute down here. We've got a 15-minute speech from Coop coming in. Also, Craig in the chat coming in while we were out there saying, Simon,
morning, Craig,
you forgot the London game. Joe Mixon could lose the top rusher this week even faster. Yeah, sorry about that. Not even around 1:08. It could be around 9:38 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday that Joe Mixon loses top scoring PPR running back in week 4 title.
Any moment. As Scott Fish said, I'm not a big James Robinson guy either. Was so wrongly in on ETN. Just going over stuff yesterday, I noticed the path for him and just thought, whoa, there's a chance here. I'm guessing he's talking about ETN.
I think he's talking about James Robinson.
Talking about James Robinson, yeah. Yeah, the usage is not what we thought. I do think ETN his usage will increase over the year. We got to remember this is for him, for all intents and purposes, his rookie year, right? So it's a new regime that didn't draft him. I think they're going to work him in, but I think Doug Peterson also is just going to use the guy that is the most effective. And I think both of these guys will be able to return fantasy value.
Man, it just feels a little bit like deja vu, right? Like I feel like I'm sitting here again with James Robinson going out the first couple weeks, looking like an RB1, and then people saying like, surely no, right? Like surely he won't do it all year. Like surely it's a different situation with ETN there now, but like I would not be shocked if at the end of the season we're looking at this and James Robinson's a top 10 running back. Like I just would not be surprised at this point.
Yeah, and I think for ETN, it's not, at least from what I'm seeing, like it's not about talent. It's not that he's not talented. He's not making things happen. It's purely where we drafted him was based off of volume. There was assumptions about volume, and those assumptions are proving not true. And so I think, people who are calling ETN a bust, I guess it's true because it's relative to where you drafted him, what the cost was. But, it's not necessarily that Travis Etienne is not participating or impacting this football team or playing good football.
Yeah, I mean, but if all you care about is fantasy, then he's not getting that volume. Yeah, surely. Not a good third-round pick if you were taking
to me, when I see talent and a lack of volume, that's usually a recipe for something to happen, right? We usually talk we talk about that a lot. Like
talent plus or I think like in the draft, jail, this is probably why you were so attracted to ETN as a pick, is it was talent plus a little bit of uncertainty, right? And that's where like, even though he was going in the third round, that could have elevated him. Like if we knew he was getting all the carries, he probably would have been a first or second round pick. So there's like that little bit of a dip because of that uncertainty. But with that comes the risk of what we're seeing now, right? Like it doesn't always equal value. The uncertainty can pan out the other direction too.
It can. Yeah, it can go either way. And also uncertainty, like the outcomes for Travis Etienne in the last few weeks, they can switch, right? They can change. Their strategy can change. They can give him more volume. All of a sudden, his trend changes, right? And so you want to almost be ahead of that with guys when these situations happen. And Travis Etienne, no one expected the Jaguars team to be as good as they have been. So that's also a boost, right? To both James Robinson and Etienne we were like, one of these guys we thought Etienne is going to be the main guy on a bad offense. Instead, we got James Robinson's the main guy. Travis Etienne is still a pretty used piece in this offense, not quite as much as James Robinson, but they're on a good team now, or a good offense, at least for the start of the season. So I think that also increases the ceiling of both of these guys.
Yeah. Craig, and you're saying can't trust those Clemson players. Am I right, guys?
I was thinking about that last night,
Get them
Simon.
out of there.
I was like, all these people like who shit on us for Clemson bias. It's worked pretty well for your fantasy teams over the last few years. So, maybe it's not so much bias, or maybe you should get some of your own bias. I'm watching T. Higgins last night go off. I'm watching Mike Williams. It's worked out pretty well.
Hunter Renfrow.
Oh,
It's like watching Coop muted.
I was just wanted to join in and celebrate with you guys. I said Sammy Watkins, Martavis Bryant.
Hey, Sammy Watkins was great until
really
the Bills ruined him. And Martavis Bryant, I'm not saying all Clemson players are great. I'm saying we picked the ones that are good.
Okay. So you guys
Simon and I were never hyped in that way on Martavis Bryant. No.
No, I was on Sammy Watkins though. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that dude
there was reason to be. There was reason to be hyped on Sammy Watkins.
His rookie year, he was actually nasty. He had like 1,000 yards.
He was
right?
Until the Bills forced him to mess up his foot. Yeah, he was great. He was a great fantasy player.
If you guys haven't read the article,
if you haven't looked into that, like,
there's an article called what Sammy Watkins believes, and it was an interview with Bleacher Report, and it was just this, and it really kind of gives a look at it. Talks about his time in Buffalo and how he felt disrespected and uncared for there, and it talks about like what leads him to like, because he does have some non-normal beliefs whenever it comes to like what he believes is going on. We've heard him talk about like being a lizard person, stuff like that, right? But like this article gives you kind of a peek into what he's thinking, why he's thinking it, the stuff that he's gone through and his time in the league before that. But worth a read. Go check it out. It's on Bleacher Report. It's called What Sammy Watkins Believes, and it's one of my favorite like NFL pieces of all time. If you haven't read it,
yeah, that's a good one. I've read that whole one because he really opens up, man. It's interesting. I saw that one, and there's one on Alvin Kamara where like you actually get to see what these guys are like, and it's super interesting. So definitely check that out. That's a good one. And he definitely believes in some. There was a while where he had some weird stuff on his Twitter, like
Kamara.
No, Sammy.
Oh yeah. Sammy's got some weird beliefs, for sure.
The mentellect stuff. Yeah, that stuff is super weird. But anyway, no, we don't need to get into his personal beliefs.
Back to Etienne and Robinson.
Dustin in here saying ETN is still a standalone RB2, just not living up to what people wanted, which was an RB1. Yeah. If you look at ETN like you do Pollard or Hunt, he's been good. Jill, do you agree with that? Like if you change that lens with how you're looking at him, he's a good RB2.
Yeah, he hasn't been if you're just looking at box score, like the surface level stats are not going to look great for ETN. If you go watch the games, it tells a different story. And I think ETN's usage will only increase as the season goes on.
That's what I keep telling my league mates. They're like, you lost in fantasy this week. And I'm like, but did you watch the game?
Did you watch the game? Use your eyes.
Like,
Use your
eyes. Probably
eyeballs.
Should have got more points. ETN looked so good.
Is that working for you? Are you getting the sympathy wins?
It has not yet worked in my leagues. The commissioner will not go in and change the outcomes, but
that's pretty messed up.
Moving forward, I think it could translate to points.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it's coming your way. We had a question in here from Lucius. Good morning, Lucius. Welcome in. Good morning, guys. What's Christian McCaffrey's value now? I want off this roller coaster. Who do you even trade him for? Coop, if you've got Christian McCaffrey on your team, what are you doing?
I think if you have Christian McCaffrey on your team, you go to one of the teams that, and as rough as this might end up being in the long run, you go to a team that's like 3-0 and you say like, hey, Christian McCaffrey's banged up. I can't afford to continue to start him. Why don't you take him and, give me something back, and then see if you can like negotiate it that way. If I'm 3-0 though, like I'm holding on to Christian McCaffrey because the upside is too great. I mean, he just had back-to-back 100-yard games. So I'm just riding it out. You know what I mean? Like hopefully he gets through this injury and he comes back and he's ready to rock and roll when it matters most down the stretch. But yeah, if you're 0-3 right now and there's a possibility he's going to miss this week's game, you can't afford to bleed too many more games. So you might have to sell out.
Who are you? Like what's a tier of player maybe you're trying to get for him? Like if we're looking at wide receivers, is it like how far down are you going?
I don't know if I go that far down.
Christian Kirk.
I would still try and get like a tier, like a second tier type guy.
Marvin Jones.
Michael Pittman.
Like you're not going to get Jefferson Diggs, Devontae Adams,
Hopkins.
maybe AJ Brown, Debo Samuel. It's Christian McCaffrey, guys.
Jamal Agnew.
You're not going to trade Christian McCaffrey for Deontay Johnson, right?
Dennis Houston.
I think people were panicking.
Dennis
I
Houston.
think some people will trade CMC for Deontay Johnson. I'm getting text messages about CMC. I think a lot of people are concerned. Whenever I start to feel that, I'm like, I can't sell right now. That's my immediate inclination.
To put him
right. If it makes sense strategy wise for your team, you really need that win this week. I can understand doing it, but man, it's hard to believe. Like it's gonna hurt if you make that trade and then whoever you trade for doesn't have a good week this week, and you still go 0-4, and now you've traded away some decent value that you got at the draft.
To put in perspective, we have our buddy Alex, peaked in high school, on here every Wednesday. We look at the trade chart. His trade chart has Christian McCaffrey at 67. The score is 67, and Deontay Johnson 17. So you are dropping like 5, 6.
That's
tiers,
massive.
Which is like that's like 10 hogs, dude. That's like that'd be a full 10 hogger if you did that.
That's a full pen. Yeah.
Full 10 hogger. Oh man,
That's
it's
a full 10
been.
hogger.
I haven't had a
never
10
seen a 10
hogger since
hogger.
my college days.
That's what I'm saying.
It's been a minute.
So yeah, if you can trade Deontay Johnson,
I don't think I
for
could
Christian
handle it.
McCaffrey, I'd go and do it right now. I might send some trade offers out for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I
warm
think I
up with
might
a
too.
5 hogger first before you try one of those 10 hogger trades.
Yeah, I don't want to
It's
get
just gonna-
too far ahead of myself.
It's gonna hurt yourself. Tommy down here says, would you trade CMC for Josh Jacobs? Coop, would you do that one? Would you make that move?
I don't think I would, man. I don't think I would. Not even in standard. Not even if there's a fire. Like I'll go down with the ship with CMC before I do that move.
Also, yeah, Nick in here saying I'm riding out CMC till he tears another ACL. Do not will that into the universe if he tears another ACL. But I'm with you, Nick. That's how I'm riding this situation. Is I drafted him early to help me win this league. I'm probably not getting good enough value on him if I'm trading him away. We're just rolling with CMC.
Gotta call a timeout. That stat from Scott Fish can't possibly be right. Is it?
Deontay Johnson has -6 yards after the catch this year. That might be the
That's-
funniest stat I
that's
researched
true.
this week.
That's
Is that true? On the year through 3 weeks, Deontay Johnson with -6 yards after the catch. Milky Trubilky setting him up for success.
Good God.
Yeah, he's right. -6.
That's absurd.
-6. Minus 0.2 per game.
Wait, on
That's
how many-
amazing, bro.
On how many catches?
21 receptions.
You know what it could be? Maybe he had a
Number 6 in
oh,
receptions.
you know what it could be with
Scott's
that
telling us
-20?
he had -20 on one, but the other 20 catches were only like plus
Yeah.
14.
You know what it probably was? It was probably an end of game Hail Mary, like flea flicker type play. Like where
was
you know,
it
like
that
they-
one that
They
that where
did have the one
fumbled it?
against the Browns.
So he probably caught the pass and then just like ran backwards trying to like look for somebody to pitch it to, and then just
Yeah.
crushed his yak that way. that
That
is crazy. though.
Always the worst in box scores. Whenever it's like the person who was pitched to, all of a sudden you're looking at this guy and you're like, how the hell did he have 35 yards receiving and no receptions? Like it doesn't count as a reception, but it counts it as receiving yards, even though, or rushing yards. If you're a receiver, if the initial play was a rushing play. So like if the initial play from the line of scrimmage in this situation was a rushing play, but then you're like the third guy who gets tossed to the ball, you're now getting rushing yards. But if it's a
Right.
receiving play, you're now getting like what? Like it just doesn't make sense that like further down, like once that ball leaves that first person's hands, like I don't know what yards those are, just extemporaneous yards, like
You
just
gotta put him
yards.
somewhere. You gotta put him somewhere.
Temporaneous.
I think they. Yeah, I will say this: the lateral is my very favorite play ever. I love a lateral of any kind, especially on defense. Although I think my favorite play all time is the Randy Moss before halftime lateral to Mo Williams. Do you guys remember that one?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Like with no time on the clock, just heave ho over the shoulder. That's a
such a
perfect
good
play.
game.
That's a perfect play for me.
Heave ho is a great game, and that is a great pass. Jordan said mine is the miracle in Miami. Yeah, that's a
Mods.
great one. I know why he's bringing that up.
Remove
Little
Jordan.
shot at Coop right
Remove
there.
Jordan Luke from the chat, please. Thank you.
Jill, what's your favorite play in football?
favorite play? Oh, I don't know, man. That's
Scott
tough.
Fish is smart. He knows.
Maybe the Stephon Diggs, the Minnesota Miracle. That's up there. I was watching that live, and that was just like unreal.
Yeah,
I probably have
that
a better
one's
answer,
pretty awesome.
but it'll come to me later.
My homer pick would probably be the Edelman catch in the Falcons Super Bowl. That catch
was wild.
Just like
That was wild.
ridiculous, like unnecessary. Like no, I feel like not a lot of guys would have made that play, dude. That guy's just all grit. All
we
heart.
We did a bracket on our YouTube channel this past, I think it was this off season, if I'm not mistaken. It was like best catch. And it was like the Tyree one was in there, the Edelman one was in there. We had a bunch of them. We should do that again.
The Odell one was
the Odell
in there.
one, yeah. Now
crazy
we got
thing
to
about-
throw Pickens in there.
The crazy thing about the Edelman catch is that, like, from a pure like athleticism catch standpoint, that wasn't even the best catch in that game. The Julio Jones sideline catch in that game. If the Falcons had won, that would go down as one of the best catches of all time. Like, ridiculous catch. The Edelman catch, yeah. The thing is, the difference is there probably are more guys that could make the Edelman catch that could make that catch that Julio made. That catch was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Scott, you're saying I've watched the Minneapolis Miracle 4,326 times, just over and over and over again.
Like I think I'll never forget watching that game live. It was just so wild.
Tommy's saying Barry Sanders' any run is his favorite play. That's fair.
That's my favorite player all time. Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders, number one favorite player.
He's
my mom in here saying
so
Riggins
cool,
dragging the defender down the field. It's her favorite.
Ooh, I like that, dude. She a Commanders fan?
School. Yeah. She is.
Man,
she
if
is.
we're talking college as well, I still think the 4th and 16 against LSU in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, our freshman year, JL 2013 Chick-fil-A Bowl, Clemson, they're down. They're down like 1 or 2 points with less than a minute left. It's 4th and 16, and they hit nuke DeAndre Hopkins to keep the drive alive. And it was just like this moment where Les Miles, it was a classic Les Miles moment where they were up with like a minute and a half left on first down. And what does Les Miles do here? Throws the ball 3 times in a row. Back to back to back, incomplete pass every time, gives Clemson the ball back with like a minute left. It was very Les Miles. Just
if we're counting college, then I'd had to throw in the Hunter Renfrow national championship catch in 2016. That's like top football moment of my life.
We got Alex in here.
Doug Flutie to Gerard Phelan.
Doug Flutie.
Dude,
also Doug
it's like half the chat is saying their favorite plays and the other half is just trying to hurt my feelings. Like Maria goes, anytime the Giants beat the Patriots.
Yes.
Maria, shut up.
Scott said Jamie Harper, 2010 Clemson wheel route. Look it up. Scott, I want you to just communicate like that to me all the time. Like not full sentences, just little like Jamie Harper, 2010 Clemson wheel route. Look it up. Just like a bunch of descriptor words and then a command at the end. Say fish out.
Fish out.
Hey, your fish is out.
You got fish. Go.
You just got fished.
Fish me, baby. We had another question in here. Wanted us to rate their team. Let us know if it looked like a chip winning team. Lamar is at the quarterback position. At running back, they've got CMC and Leonard Fournette. Wide receiver, they've got CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy. Then at tight end, they've got Travis Kelce, David Njoku. Looks like on their bench, they've got some other players sitting there. Jeff Wilson, Jamal Williams, Romeo Doubs, Greg Dortch. Coop, what are you thinking about this team? 10-man PPR. They're sitting at 3-0.
That team is a certified wagon.
Hog.
That's a hog wagon. You got the dude. I mean, you have the best quarterback, arguably the best tight end. Kelce and Andrews are just like 1A and 1A, right? And then if CMC comes back and he's CMC, like we said, coming off back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, if he can get back to fully healthy, I mean, you might have the 3 top players at those positions. And then obviously, if Godwin comes back, I wouldn't do anything with that team. I would keep it exactly as it is. And I would just look at it every morning when I wake up and I would smile.
Yeah.
Joe, what about you?
I agree with Coop. You've got a couple injuries that are really limiting this team from reaching potential, but none of them are so concerning that I'm worried. You got Godwin likely coming back at some point in the season. CMC, I think, will be fine overall. And then you got some pieces that you've built this team around which are fantastic. I think it's very balanced.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Not guaranteeing a chip to anybody, but you got a shot, man. This is a great team. We had one more question in here from Home Run. Want to know, would you trade Tony Pollard for Melvin Gordon III, MG3? JL, would you be trading Tony Pollard away to get some Melvin Gordon?
I think no. That just feels like you're not really improving your team. We talk about this a lot. It's just kind of like those 1-for-1 same position trades of players of similar tiers. It just comes down to what you think each player's what their future is going to be. But from a strategic standpoint, there's no real benefit.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that. I'd stay where you are. Too lateral of a move. Why is the other person proposing that to you? Like, unless they have a good reason for it, like you have Javonte and you're trying to set up some sort of handcuff situation. I don't know. I'd be skeptical of why that dude is trying to make that move. So I just stay put.
We talk about trading a lot as like it's a mechanism by which you are it's a collaborative mechanism, right? Like, so if Coop and I are trading, it's not me against Coop. It's Coop and I are we're trying to come together to increase both of our chances of winning against the other league mates. And so when you have a trade like that, there's no way for that to be collaborative because it's either going to go one way or the other. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter because they were the same, right? They're around the same where it's just negligible.
Also, Scott Fish in here saying, can Keith get the Snoop-a-Loop audio from old school and change it to Koop-a-Loop? Then he said, wait, I mean Snoop-a-Loop sound, old school. Look it up. Change it to Koop-a-Loop.
That's funny. We have this league, the Beantown Brawl, that's all Boston analysts. It's like, like Pete Overzet.
Chicago was a Beantown.
Pat Thorman, those guys. And my team in that is called Koop-a-Loop, and my picture is
a bean.
It's a bean.
Big bean.
No, it's Will Ferrell with the Bring Your Green hat on there. I love that, Scott Fish. We got to get that going. Keith, make it happen.
Keith, right now. Guys, coming up, while Keith puts together that Koop-a-Loop sound, we are going to be previewing some Week 4 games going on this week. And we've got Juan Carlos Blanco from RotoWire joining the show a little bit later today as well. You are listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network.
Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing, chop to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Barley picks a perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right up, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up at him. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson the carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the Bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the banking. They're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downey, swinging, there's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time. valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Bettor Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network. We just finished talking up about the first Week 4 game, that Dolphins-Bengals game, but we got a whole slate of games coming up this Sunday. Still not into bye weeks yet, and almost as exciting of a proposition as Bengals-Dolphins is the next game that I wanted to talk about. The Chicago Bears at the New York Giants, 2-1. Each of these teams winning records, standing near the top of the NFL. The Chicago Bears going to New York or New Jersey to play the New York Giants. Coop, you was excited for this this matchup between these like high caliber teams as I am?
Yeah, we got a couple real titans of the league here. I mean, 2-1, they're right up the top of the division. Could be anyone's game, really. And I mean, there could even be 40, maybe 41 points scored in this game. So gonna be a barn burner, that's for sure. I am fired up, as you could say. I'm telling you, does this one go on the big TV? Right?
This
Red Zone.
This one requires us to order a projector.
I think so. Yeah.
If you don't have a projector, order one. This is going to be a good one. But Coop, you said it may even reach 41. Well, that would be the over on this game. It's sitting at a nice 39.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Another one down there that low.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
There's
Jordan
two this
Loop
week,
in the
right?
chat asked over under 15 completions for Fields. Maybe
Yo, that should be attempts. Yeah.
attempts. Yeah. Seriously though. I mean, this will be something.
I mean, does he even have 15 attempts in any game this? Yeah, he's got 17 in one, right? And then 11 in two, or is it 17 in two and 11 in one? Whatever it is, it's
In
pretty
the Hurricane
gross.
game, he threw the most passes. That's the kind of
absurd.
season they've been having.
Just absolutely absurd. Coop, do you think there's any hope for this Bears team to get this offense rolling?
There has to be. I mean, first of all, they're 2-1. So the offense kind of is rolling. I mean, on the ground, they've been running the ball well. Both these running backs averaging over 5 yards a carry. I mean, I know David Montgomery's banged up, so it's going to be mostly the Khalil Herbert show. But I don't know, man. They have to throw the ball. You can't. They would set the record for the fewest passes by they would break the old record, the 16 game record. I mean, I guess there were some old timey teams, but in recent years, nobody has thrown 250 passes, which is what they're on pace for. And that's ridiculous. It's like I said yesterday, it's messing up my spreadsheets.
It was cracking me up when Barons was like, I looked up the 1977 numbers, and this still isn't a 1977 offense. Like, we're looking at a pre-1970s offense right now.
That's hilarious. Yeah, this I hope this game is better than the line suggests. It's hard to believe that the Bears aren't going to come into this game and start just throwing it a ton, right? Because they're on social media, they hear all the criticisms, they hear, they're watching these, they're listening to us just shit on them all the time. So I'm sure the Bears are going to come out and throw some more this game. I hope so, because like you said, if they just keep doing this is going to be why would you keep leaning into it if it's not working and everyone's making fun of you?
It is working.
I know they're 2-1. I know they're 2-1, but it's not working.
To put it in perspective, last year the team that threw the ball the least threw it 494 times, which was the Eagles last year. They're on pace for half of that. Insanity. It can't happen.
It's disgusting.
I won't let it happen.
No. It'll likely regress, right? We'll see some they have to come up closer to the average at some point.
And that's what I keep saying with Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney. I mean, those guys are running every route. Cole Kmet is 6th overall in routes run per dropback. So if they actually have a game where they throw it a normal number of times, don't be surprised if Cole Kmet has 5, 6, 7 targets. I mean, he might not be good. He might not score a touchdown, but he has normal games coming. I can guarantee that.
it feels like a personal attack because I feel like my entire argument around Mooney was predicated on like this passing offense taking a step forward, like more volume, more efficiency. We're going to be good to go. And like, they were like, oh yeah, watch this. Like, you think it can't get worse? Watch this. Like, we can throw the ball 10 times in an entire game and just call it normal. We're going to win too. So you have to be fearful about us just continuing to roll with this strategy. I think it was Joey who said it yesterday that like his biggest fear is that they just accidentally win a couple more games. Like, they win their next 2 games. All of a sudden they're sitting at 4-1. Like, this is a very winnable game against the Giants this weekend. I think like they're not outmatched on the other side of the ball. A 3-1 Bears team is very much like a reality going into next week, like after this week. And then what's their incentive to change all that much if it's working? If they're sitting at 3-1, that's what I'm nervous about.
Yeah, that'd be bad for business.
It'd be bad for the Darnell Mooney business, for Mooney business. On the other side of the ball, Coop, your favorite player, Daniel Jones. You excited to start him this week?
Yeah, super excited. I have him in fantasy leagues. I have him in a bunch of dynasty leagues. Like, the rushing upside is obviously the only thing keeping you holding on to a player like that, because they have, and even now, like, they don't have any weapons, right? Like, they lost Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay stinks, right? Are Kadarius Toney and Wandell Robinson, are either of them coming back to play this week? Do we know? Otherwise, we're looking at David Sills and Richie James, a guy that I'm throwing a DFS dart at. You can jot it down right now out there at home, folks. Tanner Hudson. Yeah, Tanner Hudson is a tight end, literal bottom pricing on every format. He's actually run more routes and lined up at wide receiver for more snaps this year than Daniel Bellinger. And people are going to be looking at this saying, oh, I'm going to start Daniel Bellinger. Meanwhile, I'm going to be starting Tanner Hudson. So let's see what happens. Let's see who wins that one.
The latest on Wandell Robinson.
Country when he says Tanner Hudson. He goes
Tanner Hudson.
Tanner, get a little bit country with Tanner Hudson this week.
Hudson.
Get a little bit Tanner.
Yeah, Wandell Robinson, the latest on him is he remained a DNP for Thursday's practice. Kadarius Toney remains sidelined for Thursday practice as well.
Yeah. If you don't practice on Thursday, you're pretty much toast. But, I mean, sometimes those guys play, but that's the big day for me for, like, if they're going to play or not. Because, yeah, so it's going to be pretty yucky. I mean, hey, so out of David Sills or Richie James, who you guys like best?
Tanner Hudson.
Tanner Hudson.
Serious question, though. If you had to, back against the wall, 32-team league,
Richie James.
James.
I like it. I like the call.
It's the work he's gotten so far, right? Like, I just have a little bit more trust in that. So I'm going to go Richie James on that one. JL, full confidence with Mr. Saquon Barkley, right? You got any questions around that, man?
Nope. Let that man do his thing. You plug him, you play him.
Star. Stud. Hog.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Saquon Barkley is a hog.
Total hog.
You've been hyping him up all off season, saying this is the Saquon Barkley renaissance. Don't be worried about the injuries, and it looks like it's happening that year. Do you expect him to maintain this level of play throughout the entire season, even on this bad Giants team?
If he stays healthy, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're just feeding him, right? And so I can't see why they wouldn't continue feeding him. I think Dable seems to have a good head on his shoulders, and we talked a little bit yesterday about these rumors about them trading Saquon Barkley to the Bills. That could be interesting. I mean, and that would certainly affect his value. But if he's healthy, you're starting Saquon. He's that talent, right? It doesn't matter what situation he's in. He can go off and be your RB1 on a terrible Giants offense. Doesn't matter.
Tim in the chat, Dolphins fan, just as soon as you said rumors that they might trade to the Bills, all caps immediately, no, please, God, no! That's an appropriate response, Tim. That is an appropriate response as a Dolphins fan. Like, it'd be hard to be optimistic about your chances if Saquon Barkley got added to that roster.
Who was his? Boomer Esiason was the one that said it on Up and Adams, I think. I think that was
so.
Where that came from.
You're right. It was Boomer. Okay, so, Boomer.
Boomer with the rumor.
Boomer with the shut up. Shut up.
Rumor has it.
Who you guys got in this game? Bears or Giants? I really don't think there's too much more we got to talk about with this one.
Who cares?
Give me Giants.
Coop said, who cares?
Who cares?
I have the Giants as well. I think that they're just, and if this is another one where if it was in Chicago, I might pick the Bears, but home field advantage, the Bears, they, it's pretty easy to play the Bears at this point because just take away the run and make them throw. And if they beat you through the air, so be it. But like that's exactly what I would do. I would just load the box and be like, go ahead and try.
Yeah, like I don't think you can.
I don't think you can. I dare you.
I don't think you can.
I don't believe it.
I'm calling for the tie on this one. I think they tie exactly.
Yeah.
Vegas thinks it's pretty even. It's -3 for the Giants, but
which is what you get when you're at home, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So Vegas thinks this is a pretty fair matchup.
Simon, you're queen bee in this one.
I'm queen bee in this one. Queen bee, Bears.
A tie.
0-0 tie.
I forgot the other. This game is so boring. We've been
Bears.
talking about it for 20 minutes that I forgot who the other team playing against the Bears was for a second. Like, oh yeah, the Giants. Just the Giants.
It's just it's crazy talking about this game where it's like there's 2 people you would start in fantasy football in the entire game. I guess 3 if you start Khalil Herbert.
Saquon, Khalil Herbert, and who's your third one?
If David Montgomery plays, then that would be the other guy.
Yeah, like I mean, Daniel Jones maybe in 2 quarterback leagues, but even then, you're hopeful that you don't have to plug him in, right? Like, would you rather start Axel Hoyer or Daniel Jones?
Axel Hoyer.
Can't start Axel. Can't start him in the first game out there.
Yeah, Axel.
He's going to be. Yeah, he's going to be doing. That's going to be the most vanilla game plan of all time. But we'll talk about that game.
Hey, I love vanilla. That's my favorite ice cream flavor. A good French vanilla.
A good way. Well, that's the thing. You can win the game. A good vanilla is nice. You know what I mean? But it's not. It's not super exciting. I mean, Simon gets excited for it.
I get excited by some vanilla.
Just
you
looking at.
You also get excited about a really nice like hotel key card.
That's true.
Yeah,
a nice used Dunkin' Donuts gift card.
All these hotels go into
those.
like the keyless entry. It's a little ridiculous. Like, what am I supposed to do? Just stop collecting?
I guess Daniel Jones is 18th QB 18 on the year. It's not terrible.
So that's startable. That's startable in 2 QB leagues.
Yeah.
Dustin asked, "What do you think the Bills would have to give up for Barkley?" And I wanted to go and look at Barkley's contract. So this year, his base salary is $7.2 million. Next year, he's an unrestricted free agent, going into his 26-year-old age year. That sounds weird. 26-year-old. The year in which he is 26-year-old. There we go. He's ranked 6th amongst all running backs. His contract. So I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't think that they.
Whoever signs him is signing him with the intention of giving him a new deal. You know what I mean? Like if they trade him or sign him, like if this were to happen, it would be under the assumption that he gets a new big deal with the Bills, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, trying to beat the market essentially.
Right.
It
would be minimum. I think you would have to give up. The very minimum is what the Cardinals gave up for DeAndre Hopkins, because that was a contentious situation where Hopkins wanted out. So maybe you'd have to pay a little more for Barkley because he's not like trying to shoot his way out of town and say he's not going to play. But that was the exact same situation where Hopkins, you had to pay him, right? Like the Cardinals traded for the right to make DeAndre Hopkins the highest paid wide receiver. That's why what they traded for him was so low, but it was still a 2nd-round pick, right? So like to get Barkley, you need to trade. And especially the Bills aren't going to give up players that are helping them win right now. So we're probably talking about a 1st-round pick, right?
Right. So you're going to leverage your future for a 25-year-old running back. Now, it's Saquon Barkley. It's not just any running back. And Saquon Barkley on this Bills offense could be absolutely
disgusting.
Like he could honestly, like that would make it a really good case for the Bills Super Bowl. And they already have a good case to make. So
that offense would be hotter than Hayden Hurst looked in that jersey last night if they added Saquon Barkley.
It would be a spicy move, but it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you got to put in perspective that like the Steelers used a 1st-round pick on Najee Harris, who is one of the older RB prospects. He's already 24. He turns 25 this offseason. Najee Harris does. So like, if you could guarantee you hit on a player, I think it's got to be a 1st-round plus, probably, honestly.
And I wouldn't give that up as the Bills. I just don't think.
I would for sure.
I would. You know that there are teams that would like. I mean, like
the Rams for a running back.
But there are teams that have shown that, like, take the Rams. They don't care about their picks at all. Like they would, they could just get a guy like that, dude. I bet they would do it. They don't care about the picks. The GM wears a shirt that says "F them picks." You know what I mean? Like some of these teams are thirsty for the win. So I don't know. I hope they don't do it, but it probably would have to be a 1st-round pick if just given what we've seen other guys go for.
It would be sick. I hope they do it. Sorry, Tim. I just want to see it. I just want to absolutely see it. That would be so cool to see. And Jay said, "Who says underpants?" I think you're behind again, Jay. I'm not positive, but no one here says underpants for a little while.
Could have been the Hayden. Is he back on the Hayden Hurst conversation?
Yeah, Jay's back in time listening to us talk about Hayden
Dingus.
Hurst over here, commenting with everybody else.
And he won't
Everyone
even know for a while,
say things in the chat to really confuse Jay, like based on where we are. Just like comments on random things that we're not even saying that will not apply. Oh, he realized it already. He said, "Wow, I did it again."
I wonder what gave it away this time.
Dude. Way to go, Jay. Hey, welcome.
Oops,
Good morning. Good morning, Jay. Welcome to
Good
the
morning,
future.
Jay. Yeah.
Keith, how much Britney Spears can I get away with singing on air? Like, what's the legal limit before I have to stop singing? Like, am I allowed to get the whole "I Did It Again" out, or is it just I got to stop after "Oops"?
Based on that one Offspring pancake clip we played for 2 seconds, you're already in trouble for saying "Oops," dude. You're already
not allowed
toxic.
to. YouTube
You're already
will
in the
get mad at
toxic zone, and you're
So I
slipping.
can say "Ooh," and then that's all I can get. Can you recognize that was Britney Spears?
Yep.
You've already become toxic, and you're slipping under, Simon.
God dang it. That was pretty good, Coop. Going to the next game, guys. And this one might be a little bit more boring than the one we just talked about. It's only got an over-under set at 51. And these teams, like, I don't know, who even cares about the Bills and the Ravens? Buffalo Bills going to Baltimore to play the Baltimore Ravens and what many would probably say is actually the game of the week. Josh Allen led Bills against the Lamar Jackson led Baltimore Ravens. JL, how you feeling about this one? The Ravens are 3-point dogs at home, 51-point over-under. What are you expecting from this game?
I'm expecting fun, and I kind of want to go to this game. I'm about to go look at tickets because I want to go. I think this will be a great game. I think it's going to be high scoring. Vegas agrees with me, 51 total, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook. I think the Ravens are going to be able to put up a good fight. I don't know that I could pick them. I don't know that I put money down on the Ravens in this game, but I might just to make it fun.
You don't do the emotional hedge, JL, where like you throw some money on the other side. That way, if the Ravens win, you're happy they won. But if the Bills win, you're happy you won some money.
No, I go all in. I need all that
I'm with you,
dopamine or none of it.
I'm the same way. I just want to like feel every emotion.
Yeah.
If I do my morning
wanna feel
show,
something.
if I do my 9 to 11 a.m. on Sunday show with John and Pemba, the Fantasy Alarm show at
I
the
thought you were
airport,
just referring to this show as your morning show now. If I do my morning show,
it's just some sideshow. The Sunday show is a real show. And that if I do that at the airport, then I could potentially get an hour-and-a-half flight to Baltimore and we go to that game, Joe. What do you think?
Yo, come. You got a
Wanna
spot
go,
to
dude?
stay, we'll go. I'm about to look at tickets right now.
Kind of down, dude. I mean, it's probably cheaper to go to that than a Patriots game.
Okay, and if someone will buy me a plane ticket and a ticket to the football game and ensure I have a place to stay, I can do it too.
And
You can
cover
go
for
too.
you on all of our shows.
Yeah, cover for me on all of our shows. I can make this work. I just need everything paid for and all of my work covered.
Dude, we should do that. We'll talk about this off air, but we should actually do that. And I'll just I'll do my morning show from your desk, JL. I'll just come down with like a Saturday.
That'll be so funny too. Because people
let's
will
do
be
it.
like, what the hell is Coop doing here?
You're just popping in, right? Like,
Yeah.
You see me walk by butt naked after my shower just in the middle of the morning show.
why don't we just all move into the FYF house together?
That's
right?
what I'm
And just do it.
saying. That's what I'm
It's time.
saying. I went to Nick Ercolano's office like 2 months ago or so, and that's all. I kept texting Simon. I was like, dude, we need to have our own spot. We need to have our own place.
Let's move into Keith's apartment.
Yeah, Keith, they're cool with that. Oh, great. Lives in his mom's basement. It's not gonna work.
What? We get an office, we get a building. What one unnecessary office feature? Think like ping pong table or nap pods or like Guitar Hero room, like an unnecessary thing for an office. Do you want to make sure is in that office? Like, what do you
Rock
need in
band.
there?
An
Punch
entire rock
machine.
band setup.
Now that punch machine where you like press the button and the bag comes down and you gotta like set the record, dude. That
Yo, I got good
That'd
news.
be pretty good.
We can get both. We can get the punch machine and a full rock band set.
Keith?
Basketball.
Keith, can we afford it?
Keith's paying for it. Ooh, I don't know. Mine's probably most definitely
sure.
He's at 750 square feet. We're gonna be packing all of our stuff in. Giant basketball shooter.
I was gonna
a
say
freaking
nap
bag punch.
We
I was
would
going to say
hate
Nat
that
Pods, but now I think it's just Nat Pod if that's the space we're working with. We're just going to get one Nat Pod, and it's actually just a sheet dangling over Keith's bed, and that's called the Nat Pod now.
The Nat Pod.
The Nat Pod is just the one bed that we all sleep in because it's only 750 square feet.
It's my turn for the Nat Pod, guys.
Yeah.
We have to live here now.
In all seriousness, this is the big TV game, right? If you're putting one game on the big TV at 1
This
o'clock,
is the big
this is the
TV
one,
game.
right? This game is going to
It makes me mad it's at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
want to
I'm
jinx
angry.
it. Yeah, it should be. It should be flexed to the night game, really. But yeah, this is going to be a good one. I don't want to jinx it, but it should be a fun game at the very least.
Are you an upper deck kind of guy, Coop? Or are you a lower deck kind of guy? Corner? Where's your preferred spot in the stadium?
We're talking bunk beds.
Decker? We're talking stadium seats.
Are we talking shit?
It depends.
Are you
It
top
really
bunk or bottom bunk
It
guy?
depends on for stadiums. It depends on the game. Like if it's a hockey game, I'll sit very back row. Like there's no
Clearly
there's no
not
bad,
talking about hockey.
There's no bad. Yeah, if we're talking hockey right now, there's no.
Now,
bad
if this
seats
is
in the-
cricket,
Now,
I
if
want
I'm
to
at
be
the
squarely in the
Masters.
middle.
If it's cricket, I want to get a chance. I want a chance to catch a what is a cricket? Is it just called a cricket ball or what's their ball called? I want to be able to. I want a chance
wicket?
to be able to get one of those. Yeah, no, a wicket.
I'm going cricket ball. That sounds right.
Yeah, I want a chance to be able to get one of those. But for football, I do prefer. I own at this stage of my football career, even though I did just go to one at 4 o'clock. I only like going to standalone games. Thursday night, Sunday night, or Monday night.
Same.
Because I like to watch all the games. Like I'd never go to a 1 o'clock game at this point, just because I love watching Red Zone. Like it's my favorite TV show.
Yeah, I agree with you. I haven't gone to 1 o'clock in a long time, and I just like being totally there. And I can't be there if there's all those other games going on.
And my buddy has like 50-yard line, 20 rows up tickets, so I'm kind of spoiled on the ticket situation. So I'm not trying to sit in the nosebleeds for a football game. I already had I had the Skinner, the Nick and Tommy story, the frozen pants and and water shoe story. So I'm already traumatized on sitting anywhere besides a nice seat.
God, I just really confused myself by Googling what is a cricket ball called, because it does not clear anything up at all. It says white kookaburra balls are used and red kookaburras are used. But then I see a question, is a cricket ball called a cherry? And another one, why is it called a googly? So we've got kookaburra of the red and white variety, googly and cherry, all as names that have come up whenever I Googled what is a cricket ball called.
What is a kookaburra?
Kookaburra.
Sitting in the old plum tree or something like that.
Some
you know
song
that song?
like that. Maria sung it before, I think.
Kookaburra sitting in it's a gum tree, I think. Sitting in a gum tree, not
I know
a plum
exactly what
tree.
you're talking about.
Dude, that bird.
How could you spend $500 on a football game? That's just so much, man.
Can't do it.
You know what? Eventually, $500, not eventually, for some people is what I should say, $500 becomes
It's a whole PlayStation.
$5. A whole PlayStation becomes $5 to some people. To me, a whole PlayStation might as well be a house financially, but for some people, $500 is just like sniffing their farts. Like it's not even a real thing. They're just like
They're offended
money.
by it. They're $500 is they're just like, get that out of my face.
Yeah.
Get it away from me.
1,500.
Guys, coming up, we're going to continue previewing these week 4 games, and we've got Juan Carlos Blanco joining the show a little bit later as well. We'll be talking some player props with you soon. Excuse me. If you're enjoying what we're doing over here, you want to catch some more of us, make sure you head on over to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy. Hit that subscribe button and check out JL's handsome face on a bunch of those videos. We had an office hours yesterday where we went through and answered a lot of fantasy football questions. You can run that one back, and we do that every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So if you subscribe over there, you will not miss out on that. But right now, you are listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
Surely. Kickers never retire, I think. They just continue playing for all eternity. Like, there's only ever been 30 NFL kickers.
they're always readily available too. It seems like, you know what I mean. Like they just get called up. They're like, you kicked for us 10 years ago, right? Why don't you
run it back?
I imagine
Graham
every
Gano,
single kicker that gets the call is on a high school football field somewhere, just practicing field goals after hours. Like it's like 9 p.m. and they're out there just in the local high school kicking field goals, and the phone rings. They get the call and they're like, yeah, I'm ready. I've been practicing for this.
I have an amazing kicker story if you guys have a second.
I got a couple.
The number one all-time field goal kicker is Adam Vinatieri. The next two guys are Morton and Gary Anderson, right? Gary Anderson was a dude from like South Africa that just played rugby and soccer. He just could absolutely boot the ball, right? They bring him over and he does like a tryout and he's just absolutely crushing the ball. And all these colleges are like, dude, we want you to come kick field goals for us. And he goes, I don't even want to play football. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, so if I can come to your school and play soccer, I'll also, in the fall, I'll kick for the football team. And Syracuse was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you're on the soccer team. Like, come on. And he went to Syracuse to play soccer, but also kick field goals. And then he ended up being a top 3 point scorer in the NFL all the time.
That's ridiculous.
And his answer to recruiters was, I don't want to play football. I'll do it in my spare time.
Yeah. He's like, you got a spot for me on the soccer team. Syracuse is like, yeah, we got a spot for you.
We don't even care about our soccer team.
We don't even care.
We totally have that spot.
Right? They had to like cobble together a soccer team. Like, yeah, this guy's the captain.
Oh my God. It's like Accepted, the movie, but they just like had to throw together a whole fake soccer team.
Somehow they still got Justin Long.
Right, yeah. Like, Adam Sandler's the coach. And dude, imagine they win the national championship. That's a movie, dog. Yeah.
Boom!
Someone call up Disney. Yeah, we just wrote a movie for you, Disney. This has Disney sports movie written all over. I'm borderline crying right here just thinking about this movie right now.
Dude, the story gets even crazier. Like I should have looked it up again, but like it was like a high school coach that went and found him, and then that high school coach ended up being somebody crazy famous that like coached for the Rams.
Stay tuned for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network. We were talking about that Bills-Ravens game whenever we jumped off here before. And, Coop, I wanted to get your opinion. Who do you think's winning this game? We mentioned the Ravens are 3-point favor or 3-point dogs at home. You think the Bills pull this one out, or do you think the Ravens win it?
Yeah, I'm picking a lot of dogs lately, but I do think the Bills right now are the best team in football. And coming off a tough loss, a very unusual game script, right? Where the Bills ran like 90 offensive plays. The Dolphins only ran like 40. I think this game ends up being in the Bills' favor. I think this is the first time this year that the Ravens are the team that ends up having to scramble, run a lot of plays, because they've been the team that has the game in hand most games. Like they haven't even had a game where they ran 60 plays yet. So I think that's the kind of script we see here, which is, if that is the case, it would be great for fantasy football because you finally get to see the Ravens huck it, chuck it football where they're actually running a lot of plays. And, you know, the Bills offense already is what it is. So I got the Bills here. I don't know. Do you guys like the Ravens or where you at?
What I was just looking up while you were talking I was trying to see what's the Bills defensive situation like this week, because last week many of their starters were not playing, which absolutely affected the way that this game that game played out against the Dolphins. I'm guessing just based off the Vegas lines that they have their defense back somewhat. Have you guys heard anything on the Bills defense?
Cam Lewis was limited in practice. Dane Jackson was still limited in practice as well. Von Miller did not participate in practice. Neither did Jordan Phillips. Then they've still got Christian Benford as a DNP at practice as well this week. Ed Oliver, limited participant. So I would imagine a lot of these guys are going to be back, but it sounds like at least one or two pieces potentially in the secondary are still going to be out this week.
That makes sense. That makes sense then, and that would explain why Vegas is feeling the way that they are.
And they did sign Xavier Rhodes as well. So they added a piece over there, which would further probably point to the fact that they're still beat up, right? They're still injured. They need some help there.
Right.
So who are you going with in this one, Joe? You think the Ravens pull it off?
I'll go Ravens.
Ravens for JL. I don't blame you there. I'm real tempted to take the Ravens on this one. I'll take the Bills to win, but I'll take the Ravens to cover in a really close game. I'll take the Ravens to cover at that +3 right there and say this is a real heater down there at the end. And producer Keith said, "Who do you guys think is going to win, Ravens or Bills?" We just told you, Keith.
He's probably talking to bro. I imagine he's talking.
I know. I'm just messing with him. I immediately was just messing with him over
there. Who do you think's going to win, producer Keith?
And Jay said Shrek bet. Okay, you guys want to do a Shrek bet on this game?
Absolutely not. I'm
not entirely sure what that is.
Loser has to, what Shrek? Just do an impression of him is what what is.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I'm not betting on this one.
Okay, we'll find it. We'll find a different game. We'll find a different game for a Shrek bet, JL. And Keith says he's taking the Bills in this one.
Smart.
Whenever we're talking fantasy players in this game, it's kind of the opposite of that last game, right? Like there's just players out the wazoo that we want to start over here. On the Bills side, you're not taking Josh Allen out of your lineup. You're not taking Stephon Diggs out of your lineup. No. Those guys stick in there. Stephon Diggs' line for this game for receiving yards is set at 84.5. You guys touching that seems like a pretty high line, but also with the 51 point over under here, they're obviously expecting a lot of points to be scored. Jail, what are you doing with 84.5 on Stephon Diggs?
84.5. 84.5. That does seem like a pretty good line. I'll take the over.
Man. Coop, what about you?
84.5, man.
Yeah, that's high.
Yeah. I don't know. This is supposed to be a shootout, so I do like the over on that one. Since you're forcing me to pick one, I'll pick it, but it's not one I would bet. I think it's a well set line. I only really bet if I have a real conviction. You know what I mean? Like the Joe Mixon first touchdown yesterday. But much easier.
What about Rashad Bateman? 47.5 yards is what he sat at.
So that I would smash the over on because what we've seen, and as hard as it is to believe because of how good Lamar Jackson's been and how efficiently they've scored, is that they really haven't run a lot of plays. Like a couple of these games, I've mentioned multiple times that they've run like 53, 56 plays in the game. Last year, they were averaging 69. They led the league in plays run, and that's just more conducive to fantasy success, right? Like Devin Duvernay doesn't run that kickback against the Jets. Maybe that's 10 to 15 more plays that they run. That's just more fantasy points that are out there to be had. So I think Rashad Bateman this week is a guy that is in a position to crush.
Jail, are you like that Rashad Bateman 47.5 yards prop?
Yeah, I wanted to look at what he's averaging. What was it, 47?
47.5.
47.5. Yeah, I mean, the last 3 games, 59 yards, 108 yards, 59 yards. So I think I'd take the over on that as well. And what I believe to be a high scoring game, and if their Ravens are gonna be putting up points, that they're gonna be moving down the field, it's got to be Andrews and Bateman.
You know what? I think it's going to be the over, so I'm going to take the under just so I don't fully jinx us by all 3 of us picking the over on a slam dunk bet. Like that seems like a surefire way to guarantee that it's the under. So I'll take the under, and I'll just take I'll be wrong here, guys. It's okay, just to save that one from playing out the other direction. Scott Fish said the Ravens don't cover anyone. I'll take the over for the Stephon Diggs, even though that's a pretty high line. The Ravens have allowed 3 wide receivers over 150 yards in just the last 2 games. That's absurd. That's almost as absurd as the Deontay Johnson -6 yards after the catch stat. 3 wide receivers over 150 yards in 2 games. That's unbelielievable.
Well, yeah, 2 of them were from the Dolphins.
Well, yeah.
In one game.
I am aware. It's still unbelievable. Guys, there's one player in this game that has minus odds to be an anytime touchdown scorer. Who do you think that is?
One player in this game
has minus odds. Everyone
and
else
it has to be rushing or receiving.
Rushing
Lamar
and
Jackson.
receiving, right? Passing does not count.
Oh,
It could still be Lamar Jackson for rushing.
it could still be for rushing. Yeah.
I would say that it would be Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I was just
It is
about to
not.
get there.
It is
Oh,
Stephon Diggs.
Stephon
Stephon Diggs at minus 110. But you guys, Joe, you weren't far off with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. The only players with better odds to be an anytime touchdown score than those two, besides Stephon Diggs, are Mark Andrews and Gabriel Davis.
Yeah.
And then we've got Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen sitting at plus 145, which is kind of crazy for quarterbacks to be that high up in this anytime touchdown score prop. But these guys are two of the best running quarterbacks in the league. They look different doing it, though. Different running styles for each of these guys, but that's wild. Where would you guys be willing to go down as far as like Coop? I like that you did this yesterday. Like the furthest you'd be willing to go down for first touchdown score in this game, or anytime touchdown score.
I gotta pull it up. All right.
Like Isaiah Likely plus 500. Are you going down there? Devin Duvernay plus 330. Anytime touchdown score.
Duvernay feels
high
like
scoring game. Duvernay feels like a trap. Yeah, Duvernay feels like just
first touchdown score. I would go. Wow, that's crazy. Dawson Knox got down there.
Duvernay at plus 1,800 to be the first touchdown scorer in this game.
Isaiah Likely's he's not playing a ton of snaps, but I will say this: he when he goes out there, he plays wide receiver. So the number one tight end in terms of lining up at wide receiver is Darren Waller, 90% of his snaps. Right. Number 3 is Mark Andrews, like 83% of his snaps. Number 2 in between those two guys is Isaiah Likely, 88% of his snaps. So if Mark Andrews were to go down, Isaiah Likely to the moon. So keep that in the back of your mind.
Freaking moon.
Yeah, but
so
I think,
I
the farthest I would go down is Zach Moss, plus 3,000.
Plus 3,000 for Zach Moss.
Dude, unless you want to go crazy with Reggie Gilliam, dude, he's been getting a decent number of looks, like for a fullback.
Yeah, that would plus 8,000 right there for first touchdown score. You know, that might be worth just throwing a little bit over there. And Scott Fish saying, can you drop those numbers again, Coop?
Yeah, absolutely. Darren Waller, when he's running routes, so this is on pass plays from the wide receiver spot. Darren Waller's lining up at wide receiver for 90% of his snaps. Number 2, right after him, Isaiah Likely, 88% of his snaps. And then number 3 would be is Mark Andrews at 83%. And then after those guys, the next highest are Juwan Johnson. I can just look it up. I don't know why I'm pulling it off the top of my head. Here we go. I got it here. Darren Waller, 90. Isaiah Likely, 88. Mark Andrews, 83.9. Juwan Johnson, 76. And then Logan Thomas at 74. And then you get into like Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, somewhere in the 70s. But for those guys are lining up at wide receiver every time. Mark Andrews' usage is the best I've ever seen. Like he's lining up, he's second in routes run per dropback. In target share, he's 36%. No one's even close to that, dude. His average depth of target's 11.7 yards, which is like right up at the top. He's pass blocked on 0 snaps. He's the only tight end in the league that's played that's run routes on more than 30% of the dropbacks and has not pass blocked one single time. You have to go all the way down to like Ross Twelly to find another guy that hasn't pass blocked, and he doesn't even play. So like the usage for this guy right now is through the roof. And like I said, they haven't even had a game where they ran more than 60 snaps. So Mark Andrews could even be even better if that's even possible. So Mark Andrews, slam spot.
Hog. Mark Andrews.
Absolute hog.
Absolute hog.
I would move him ahead of Kelce, and I had no reason to move Kelce down. It's just like, well, the usage is so crazy good, I had to move him ahead, even though like if I really, in my mind, they're next to each other, but like I couldn't not move him ahead given the usage. So keep an eye on that.
Symbolically, you just had to give him that little bump.
I had to give him the bump, man. I've never seen it. You know what I mean? I've never seen it like everything is green on my spreadsheet all the way down, like bright green.
Just beautiful green for Mark. Him and Cole Kmet just the opposite.
Cole Kmet actually has a bunch of things. That's why Cole Kmet's messing on my spreadsheet.
Oh, because he has all the green.
He has some green in there. Like he has a lot of green. If you look at routes, dropbacks per route, right? Mark Andrews is second, only behind Tyler Higbee, 86%. Cole Kmet is sixth. He's like right behind him, 76%. Cole Kmet has a higher routes run per dropback than Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, like pretty much Pat Fryermuth, like you name it. There's only a handful of guys that are ahead that are meaningful players. It's ridiculous that they just don't throw.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
This Buffalo Ravens game, I think we're all excited for it, but there are other games going on this week as well. And Coop, we've already talked about this one a little bit. Axel Hoyer going to be leading the New England Patriots as they go up to Green Bay to face off against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in this game. The Packers are 9.5-point favorites at home, and another barn burner expected, like the Bears-Giants game, a total set at 39.5 points. Coop, how's this game going to go? Is it going to follow the game script that Vegas is laying out in front of us? A big win by Green Bay?
I think so, man. I think the Patriots are just going to quietly lie down here. And I think it's going to be a really good game for the thing is the one thing that messes up the narrative. Yeah. The one thing that messes up the narrative is that the Patriots do have a pretty decent run defense. So it would be easier if it was just going to be AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones just back and forth running the ball all game. And it might still be, but the Patriots have like Christian Barmore, Matt Judon. They have a decent run defense. So we might see a little bit of Romeo and the boys. So, but I don't think
boys.
Romeo and the gang. But I don't think the Patriots stand a chance here. Brian Hoyer versus Aaron Rodgers.
Axel Hoyer versus Aaron Rodgers.
Say it right or don't say it at all.
Axel Hoyer versus Ayahuasca Rodgers.
Ayahuasca Rodgers.
Axel versus what a showdown we got going on. Just a bunch of badass dudes out on the field. Axel and Ayahuasca facing off for the first time.
A couple of dudes, bro.
Yeah, if the Patriots cover, it's going to be because it's 9.5 and they lose by 9. Like that's the kind of game I'm seeing here. You know, yes. I don't know, but we'll see.
Axel slinging it at the end. Jail, what do you think? Do you think the Patriots have any shot at covering here?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I think Coop laid it out perfectly. The Patriots are going to lie down on this one. Just take it.
The thing about Bill Belichick, he's a great coach, right? But there's some coaches that are like kind of crafty. He could win any game type coaches. Like Mike Tomlin is like he could win any game. Like Belichick is more of a machine coach where like if you bring out a rookie quarterback, you're going to lose, right? To Bill Belichick. And like he wins the games he's supposed to win, but he's not. They're not super creative, and they usually lose the games they're supposed to lose. Right?
He's not going to bring out a sneaky little win here.
Is insane.
They're just going to run the ball until they lose. That's what's going to happen.
It's a 9.5 point spread with a 39.5 point over under.
That's such a lie down, right? Like that's
such a crazy combo.
Yeah. So if you're a Fantasy Alarm member, we actually have one great thing that
the implied totals.
We have the implied totals all listed there, and the Patriots have easily the lowest implied point total of any team this week. Let me take a little gander what that number comes out to be.
Take a little peek.
Take a little. How you doing? So the Patriots implied point total is 19 points, which feels high to me, but no other team
feel high.
No other team is really below 20. I think maybe the Bears are in that range too. Patriots and Bears. Those are the teams you really love.
So on the Patriots side, who are you starting for fantasy? Like the running back situation seems to be getting more confusing. Like maybe Ramondre Stevenson's starting to take over. Maybe that was just a 1 week thing. And then you're probably not starting Axel Hoyer. And then the receivers, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker. Like how many of these options are you actually comfortable plugging into your fantasy lineups?
Kind of hard to get excited about like a half injured Jacoby Myers, Jordan Humphrey playing every snap, which, cool. Maybe Devontae Parker. Because the thing is you're playing a guessing game. It's like the guess who Brian Hoyer likes game, which is fine in DFS. Hunter Henry, maybe a DFS play. That's the one I'd throw out there. That because he is running a lot of routes and lining up at wide receiver, doing all the things you would expect. They just haven't been throwing him the ball. Maybe Hoyer will. Maybe Hoyer leans into the safe guy, right? The biggest guy on the field that can win contested catches. So I would guess Hunter Henry and Devontae Parker if you want to throw DFS starts, but I wouldn't start anybody from this team unless you're back against the wall and you have to start Ramondre Stevenson.
I was gonna say, yeah, the running. You think they'll lean on the running game if Hoyer's unable to get the passing game going?
That's all they have, man. That's all they have, and it looks like the pass work is skewing towards Ramondre. And in a game where you're a 10-point dog, that's the way it should go. So I do like Ramondre over Damian Harris. He played 26. He ran 26 routes. Harris only ran 12. That's all we have to go off of with Ty Montgomery out. So that's the way I'd go.
And Ramondre's just on the field more than Damian Harris. Last 2 weeks, 62%, pretty consistent. And Damian Harris on the field 40%, 38% of the time. That's 2 weeks in a row now that we've got him out snapping them.
And when you look at why, because they get similar carries, right? It boils down to pass downs. And Ramondre Stevenson played 28 pass snaps, and Damian only played 14, so double the pass plays. Ramondre clearly has to be ranked ahead of Damian Harris, and then of course Damian Harris will probably score the rushing touchdown this week, just to make this the single worst fantasy football team there is. Right?
Yeah,
and they also, their defense makes it so that the other team can't score fantasy points either. It's
right. They're just like, I think you called them the ultimate wet blanket last week.
I think I called them a black hole, fantasy football black hole, where it's just like, and on top of that, they have Matthew Slater.
That's my black hole impression.
Yeah, Matthew Slater pinning the ball down at like the 4-yard line, right? Like just awful fantasy football, man.
It's interesting. You were talking about Ramondre Stevenson trending, like, his usage trending upwards. So I wanted to pull up the numbers on that because I haven't looked at that recently. And looking at the Fantasy Footballers site, they have this usage table, which shows his target percentage has gone from weeks 1 through 3, 7%, 6%, 16% jump up. Almost all of these metrics have gone up, but running back attempt percentage on his team, 47%, 38%, 52%. Running back yard percentage, 34%, 40%, 64%. So all of these are going up. Targets, same thing, 40, 50, 63. It seems like that trend is absolutely happening, like you're saying, Coop.
Yeah. And it just, Belichick will never give a running back a second contract. So Damian Harris will leave, and then they'll draft another running back, and then Ramondre Stevenson will leave too.
Guys, we just had a question come in here from Tyler. Tyler said, "Morning, fellas. Here for at Peaked." Our friend Alex said, "First-time listener. Are we getting worried about CMC? Should I trade him or keep him around? I also have Patterson, Zeke, and Hunt." So we talked a little bit about this earlier, Coop. You were bringing up Jail, you as well. Just I remember I asked Coop first last time. Sorry, I thought you were making a face like, "Hey, I was there. We talked about it too."
No, I was gonna chime in to answer the question.
Go for it. What you got?
You came here you found us through Peaked in High School. This is a perfect opportunity to say, use his charts to figure this out, right?
Peaked in High School.
Go back to where you came from. No.
We just talk about like Shrek and butts on this show, so just go.
Yeah. So this is how I use those charts. Is CMC is the type of player who he's so good, you don't want to trade him away at the wrong time, right? If you're panicking about CMC, so is everybody else, and I promise you they are, because I hear them. They're asking. Now is not the time to trade CMC. I would hold. If you're really set on getting CMC off your team, wait until he has a bigger week. Wait until people are not upset. But looking at these trade value charts, I'm trying to see where you're. Christian McCaffrey's still at the top. So if you can get someone who's not concerned, then go for it. I'm totally fine trading CMC.
People are concerned though, yeah.
But people are concerned. I don't think the charts necessarily this week at least reflect that. I'm guessing after this injury, Christian McCaffrey's value would have gone down. And whenever you see that downtrend on Alex's chart, on those trade value charts, that should tell you, hey, now's probably not the right time to buy unless you think it's going to keep.
Sell.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Now's not the time to sell unless you think, this is going to be a cliff that he's falling off of.
Exactly. And you're with that lineup you have, you're better off if CMC is playing, starting Patterson, CMC, and then whoever has the better matchup for their game script out of Zeke or Hunt in the flex. So if Zeke has a good matchup, where they're favored, start Zeke. Or if Hunt, if it's going to be a game where the Browns have to pass a lot, you start Kareem Hunt. But I think you're better off keeping those guys like as your like flex option than having to start one or Zeke or Hunt every week. The one exception I would say is if you're 0-3 and CMC isn't going to play, then you might have to go and try and trade him for a wide receiver and just like keep afloat. That's the only way I would panic. So.
He added in here some context. I'm 0-3, third most points for, but most points against. Played highest scores so far each week with Zeke, Herbert, CD, Kittle, and low performing RB1. I'm concerned. I wouldn't be. So what you just said, that parentheses part, tells me you're 0-3, but it's probably a variance thing, right? It's probably you just got kind of unlucky for the first 3 weeks. You have a solid team. It doesn't tell me that your team's, their median performance is going to be really low. It's just that you got unlucky. And I wouldn't be trading CMC in that type of position then, because you're just going to it's a panic move. It's an emotional move, right? You're going to trade him away, and then things are going to even out a little bit. You're going to be okay in the middle of the season, and you're going to be sad that CMC's gone.
Tommy's got a different opinion down here that he's throwing off in the chat, saying, I have lost many leagues holding on to injured running backs, like hoping that they come back. What if he plays this week and aggravates injury? Value is in the crapper now. Trade him now. Is Tommy's take.
Injuries are they are a fickle mistress, maybe is the best way to say it, because they're very difficult to predict, and you're pretty much taking a bet, right? So if you want to take that bet, go for it. But we're here, future, right? That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is telling you the best way to proceed in terms of strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in a vacuum. Like if it wasn't for the injury, you wouldn't even be having this conversation. Because if week 1 he scored a touchdown, then he had 100 yards rushing, then he had 100 yards rushing again. I mean, it's like, what more can you really ask for in this world than that player? So if he wasn't hurt, you wouldn't be having the conversation. If he's playing this week, I'm not trading. That's that. If he is out and you are panicking and you think you're going to go 0-4, you might have to trade him for a guy who's playing. But beyond that, I'm not trading the guy.
We had some more questions in here. We had another question. This one from Brandon. What's up, Brandon? He said, I just got offered Kamara for James Conner and Rashad Bateman in a half PPR league. I already have Saquon, Patterson, Miles Sanders, and Mostert on the bench. Would you accept? Bateman is always on my bench, he said. So Bateman is a bench player for him. So Kamara, that you get Kamara, and he would be sending away James Conner and Rashad Bateman. Joe, you're saying nope here?
I'm all for consolidating. You're thinking about it right with the Rashad Bateman's always on your bench, so maybe I should package him and consolidate. You can get much more than Alvin Kamara. At this point, I think Alvin Kamara is not that far off from James Conner. And so I don't think this is enough. I wouldn't make this trade.
Yeah. I think people forget that bye weeks are common, baby. Week 9, week 14, those weeks have a crazy amount of teams on bye week. Rashad Bateman is going to be in your lineup very soon, my friend. Very soon. Yeah. Starting week 6, he's going to be in your lineup all the time.
And there's value to depth, right? Like the more depth that you can build on top of your active roster, the more you're stacking that probability that you're going to win. Because even if something happens, which it is, because it's football and anything can happen, you want to be prepared. And so the more that you can stack that up, the better.
Screw depth. I'm taking Kamara.
Kamara's got a lot going on, man. He's got like rib injury, court cases floating around. Like, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried there. I don't know. The thing about this court case thing is that there's a real world where if the Saints aren't in the playoffs, they just push that court case forward and he gets suspended for the last 4 games of the year or 5 games or whatever. Like that could very easily happen. I mean, it seems like they're just kicking this can until they can say, if they're going to the playoffs, they'll kick it all the way down the road. And if not, they'll just be like, okay, we'll take the suspension now, which could absolutely crush your fantasy team because that's when you need a guy most. Got to keep that in the back of your mind that this team could eventually just say, all right, let's get that suspension eaten up.
We got Lucius in here with another question for us. Said, would you trade A-Rob for Singletary? LOL, this year is so weird. Allen Robinson for Singletary. Which side of that would you want, JL? In a vacuum, in a Dyson, in a Shark, in a I can't think of another one. There's one that starts with a B and has S's and L's in it. But all I can think is a buzzle, and that's definitely not what it is.
In a Hoover. I'll weigh in on this one. Give me Devin Singletary right now. This dude is. Here are the leading running backs in routes run this year. Number 1, Saquon Barkley, awesome. Yeah. Number 2, Joe Mixon, interesting. Ooh. Number 3, Devin Singletary.
What?
Yeah, dude, they're just using him as the full every down back. Everyone was worried about James Cook, and then James Cook fumbled on his very first ever play, and we haven't seen him again really. He's played in garbage time a little bit, but dude, Devin Singletary, if he's gonna run, dude, he's running like 20-30 routes a game. Like, you can't really ask for much more. The only downside, of course, is that Josh Allen power football stealing some of those touchdowns. But I mean, Devin Singletary's been awesome, and Allen Robinson's been okay.
He's just been okay. The offense is different, right? Like I would rather have a piece of the Bills offense than the Rams offense. I know, hot take, but Devin Singletary's getting the usage, and he's on the Bills, so I'm going Singletary.
Give me Singletary, dude.
I see some more of your questions in there. We're going to get to the rest of these questions, as well as continuing to preview some of these Week 4 games. And our friend Juan Carlos Blanco from RotoWire and the Game Day HQ is joining the show a little bit later as well. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
We got to get a team in Honolulu. Like, what about that, Ray? You think Oakland? Like, nobody's talking about Honolulu for the Oakland A's to move to. How badass would that be to have a Major League Baseball team? Instead, they want to go to like where it's 120 degrees in the desert of Vegas.
Right.
Ray, they should pick up and go to Honolulu. That would be epic right there for the A's.
They could go to Honolulu, and instead of playing 12 games against a team throughout the course of the year, you just play a 12-game set. Just get it done.
What's the flight from the Bay Area? 4 hours?
It's depending which direction you're going, it's 5.5.
Okay, that's not terrible. You'd have to manage the schedule a bit.
Right.
But it's doable. Like, you play your West Coast games and then maybe you give an extra day. Like you play in San Francisco through Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then you have your Monday off. Everybody gets their Monday off and then they play, out in Hawaii for 4 games. And they come back for the weekend.
It's very similar time-wise for us in California, in the Bay Area, to go to Hawaii as it is to go to New York. It's very similar. So, yeah, like you're saying, Giants do that to go to the Mets. The A's do that to go to the Yankees. They do it, so it would be very similar.
They would be they've already got the baseball background. I mean, they're dominant. The island loves their baseball. And Ray, you could even rebrand the team from the Oakland A's to the Oakland Lays. You can do the Lays, Ray. Look at that.
Good. That's actually, there's no way that would ever happen, but that's pretty good, Kyle. On the fly.
I'm giving away like free marketing right here.
Good work.
Right on the show.
The plan is for them to stay here, but the fans hate them. I don't know if the city likes them. They can't. I mean, it's embarrassing. I don't know. The plan
There's a lot of land in Hawaii. Just think about the views, Ray, of the Pacific. It would put your crap ballpark in San Francisco to shame. Like, everybody thinks that's a good view.
Right.
It'd have like waterfalls and real palm trees and the Pacific Ocean.
People trolling fire in the 7th inning stretch.
They would make the Giants Park look like, the vet in Philly. It would look that awful if they moved to Hawaii.
And you go to your flip-flops or shorts. They serve Mai Tais. They give Lays away, or the first 5,000 fans, whatever.
Well, everybody in the chat room loves it. Every time I get a compliment, I don't bring it up on the show.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I don't want to be that guy.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network on this beautiful Friday on the eve of a weekend full of football. We start off tomorrow with some college football. JL, we got the Clemson NC State College Game Day top 10 matchup going on tomorrow. And then Sunday, the exciting games like Bears Giants and Patriots Packers that we're all really looking forward to watching out there. We had some more questions in the chat coming while we were out there on break that I wanted to make sure we got to. This one coming in from Brendan. He said, Kyler Murray, Chubb, and Rams DST for Josh Allen, DeAndre Swift, and the Bills DST. So quarterback, running back, and defense for a quarterback, running back, and defense. JL, which side of this are you leaning on? The Kyler Murray, Chubb, and Rams DST, or Allen Swift and Bills DST?
Allen Swift, Bills DST, or Kyler, Chubb, and Rams DN. It's the Allen Swift Bills side, for
right?
me.
Yeah,
yeah, easily. Easily.
Does anyone else just get like really skeevy vibes right now from Kyler Murray? Like I just get bad vibes from that guy. Like on vibes alone.
I don't know
On
if
vibes
skeevy
alone.
is the right word, but like it's definitely weird vibes I'm getting.
Weird vibes, dude. Like he's just like, he's like I just picture him like with his hand on like a pane of glass, like looking through at everyone outside playing baseball, and he's like, "Why did I pick football, dude?"
Yeah, they're so mean. They're so mean here.
Right?
I just picture like every piece of like constructive criticism or something that he gets his way, he just responds to like, yeah, I got you. No problem.
Dude.
Like he's smirking the entire time he's saying it. Like that's how I picture Kyler Murray.
Got like
right now.
he's got like when he gets the criticism, he's like he takes one ear out of his Call of Duty headset and he's like, "No, I heard you," and he like goes back to playing. Right?
It's super toxic.
I'll do that. I'll do that for sure. Do right back to
Yeah,
playing.
I heard you the first time.
So.
No, this is the Allen Swift Bills DST side. This is it's an upgrade at every position. I feel like I know Chubb is currently the RB2, but whenever we look at who has better rest of season, like would you guys rather have Chubb or Swift rest of season, assuming they play the same number of games? I know Swift is injured right now, but like just if injury wasn't a concern, who would you rather have rest of season?
That's easy.
Swift, right? I mean, now injury comes into concern here. Yeah.
Injury is a concern.
But I'm saying like this side makes a lot of sense. Justin Schneehan here had a question for us. What's up, Justin? He said Dameon Pierce or Jamal Williams this week, 1 PPR. I'm going Jamal Williams, baby. It is a great matchup. Swift is not expected to play. And this Lions offensive line is so good. Like it's Jamal Williams for me. What about you, Coop?
Yeah, I'm with you. For just 1 week, that's the move, right? Jamal Williams locked and loaded. He was already the goal line back, and the Lions are a better offense right now than the Texans. The Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the league, right?
Yeah,
it's freaking wild.
Penny Sewell.
Sewell,
I saw that.
Frank Ragnow.
I saw a tweet the other day. It's like Penny Sewell is like 22 years old.
He's already
best he's already the best. Yeah.
That's how it happens
crazy.
though with these guys. Some of these guys are like the best lineman. Sometimes a dude at 30 years old becomes the best lineman in the league, and then he's the best lineman in the league for another 8 years. Like lineman,
Right.
That's why it's the best investment you can make when you're rebuilding. And that's why I love what they did. And the thing is, Taylor Decker on the other side is also awesome. Like there was a conversation about who was going to play left tackle. I mean, Taylor Decker plays left tackle, right? Like he's the left tackle still. He was also a first round pick, right? This line is sick. Those
So
three pieces,
if you want to invest in your child's future, like you're set on them being an NFL player and you want them to have a long career, you think maybe you should start beefing them up from a young age, like try to hit that 300 mark by high school to get some big boys out there.
If you got big boy jeans,
I'll tell you,
probably
husky jeans, dude.
Husky jeans, those big old
what you do.
Levi's. Mm-hmm.
Here's what you do. The first thing you do is you name them Trent, because that seems to be like
step one.
Step one. You name them either Trent or DeBrickashaw.
Well,
right?
At least step 2 is name them Trent.
Right, exactly. At least step 2 is name them Trent or DeBrickashaw. Right. Then you beef them up to husky jeans level at a minimum. Right, and then you send them to Wisconsin. Right. That seems to be the formula, or Alabama, I guess. But that seems to be the formula for creating a guy that plays until he's 40 years old.
And we had someone in the YouTube chat saying that the Call of Duty beta ended this week, so Murray should produce this weekend. You know what's going to be so funny is if he does go out there and just tears it up, right? Like if he goes out there and absolutely tears it up, it's going to be so funny.
I'm definitely going to make like a visualization guide for like just Call of Duty, basically just the Call of Duty calendar. When to start and sit, Kyler.
Dude, somebody did that. Somebody, swear to
They
God,
did that?
somebody on Reddit did they charted like when there were double points weekends on Call of Duty versus Kyler's performance, and it legit.
Oh, I remember that one.
Right
Yeah,
now.
the historical one. That's so
I mean,
smart,
like
yeah.
you type in Kyler Murray's name and news, and it's never good. Like here's a quote from Kyler Murray, right? He says, I'd like to run more, but I do what I'm asked to do. That's a contentious comment, right? Like he's not saying I'm doing what I have to do to win. He's saying I like to run. I want to run, but they're not calling the plays that allow me to run. I do what I'm asked to do. That basically says I don't want to do this, but I do it because that's the play call. Like you keep that stuff in house. If you don't like the plays that are being called, you go talk to Cliff Kingsbury. You don't talk to the Phoenix Tribune about it. So that's the kind of stuff that annoys me. That's what annoys me about Kyler Murray.
There's no way you're using that language. Like if you're using that language in your own life, like just there's no way you don't feel something about,
Hey,
they're asking me to do this.
Talking to the media, dude, never. That might just be the Patriots fan in me, but that gets, if you do that in New England, you get shipped out. Jamie Collins, you're gone. So like, and that's the thing is that like, if you're gonna go to the media instead of your own coach, dude, that's kid stuff.
Yeah.
No, and it hopefully they can pull it together. Hopefully Kyler can get it together. But you're right. Those are the vibes that we're getting over there. Strong Style Ninja said Call of Duty's gonna have Kyler as a character. LOL. And then Kyler looks like a little toddler running around with no diaper. Man, now we're just poking fun on him.
Yeah, why no diaper? I'm just curious how that fits into the situation. What about how he looks on the field makes you feel like
he's living dangerous, baby.
Exactly.
He's living dangerous.
He looks like if it pooped, it would slide right down the leg. Not like it would be contained by anything.
I'll tell you, I was at that game and he was running around everywhere besides past the line of scrimmage. Like he was all in the backfield just scooting around. LaShawn McCoy had some comments on it. LaShawn McCoy didn't hold back. Did you see what he said? LaShawn McCoy this week called him trash and said that he runs around like playing high school football.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh. That's pretty harsh coming from LaShawn McCoy. That would hurt your feelings if you woke up and you heard,
you know what's funny?
LaShawn McCoy called you trash. That would really hurt my feelings.
Coming from LaShawn McCoy, that's like not even harsh because he does it. He has a lot of mean things to say. He really does. But like,
he's just got a lot of mean things he needs to get out there.
He got done bashing on Eric Bieniemy, right? And then just was like, who else can I trash on? Kyler Murray, he sucks too, you know. So LaShawn McCoy, you got to take it with a grain of salt with him, but still. Like for him to call him trash, that's pretty rough, dude.
Yeah, that's brutal.
We had another question in here from Justin Schnee. He said, would you trade Travis Kelce, Deontay Johnson, and Brandon Ayuk for Kamara plus AJ Brown in full PPR? So they also have Kyle Pitts. So they're trading away Kelce, but Kelce, Deontay Johnson, and Ayuk for Kamara and AJ Brown. Joe, you doing this one?
Okay. Travis Kelce. Yeah, I'm guessing.
I don't think this is Dynasty, right?
I'm guessing it's redraft since it's not specified. If not, throw it in the chat. Let us know. Kelce, Deontay Johnson, Ayuk for Alvin Kamara and AJ Brown. Yeah, I mean, Deontay, let's just break this down. Deontay Johnson and Ayuk for AJ Brown. Taking AJ Brown. Yep. Kelce for Kamara.
Fair
Probably
swap.
taking Kelce.
I would do it.
But I think it's fair.
I would do the trade, I think
I would do it too.
Yeah, I'm doing this. Absolutely. And the
Kamara,
Kyle
AJ
Pitts
Brown
being on your team is the like the nail that says, yes, let's do this. The common phrase, you know, the nail that says, yes, let's do this.
The nail that says, yes, let's do this.
Just a complete normal saying, dude. Find a new slant. It's a normal caller. It's a normal saying, dude. Don't worry about it. But yeah, the thing about Kyle Pitts is that like this is if you tried to do bully tight end this year, unless you went Kelce Andrews somehow, bully tight end's not really working out that well because you don't feel good about Pitts or Waller or Kittle in the flex. So if you did go bully tight end, now is the time to make that trade because you don't feel good about Pitts in the flex, but I would feel good about Pitts in the tight end slot. So go ahead. If you went bully tight end this year, time to start wheeling and dealing.
You can feel good with Pitts in your tight slot. We had another question here from Brandon. Brandon said, back to the Kamara trade, fellas. Yeah, come on, fellas. Let's get back on track over here. Let's get back on track. How about Cordero Patterson and Curtis Samuel for Kamara? So Cordero Patterson and Curtis Samuel for Alvin Kamara. Which side of that would you be preferring? Coop?
What's going on, dude? Did the fantasy footballers tell everyone to go out and trade Kamara? Why is he in every trade here? Like, every once in a while, those dudes tell people, like, say something, and then the entire industry is like, we must do this. Like,
talking about it,
yeah. Right? Like, it's like, I need to start Irv Smith. So, yeah, where was I?
You got lost in your own burn.
In full PPR, I really do like Patterson and Curtis Samuel. Even though Patterson isn't catching a lot of passes as of late, Curtis Samuel is a full PPR beast. If it's half PPR, then I think I would do the trade. Just because like Curtis Samuel, he's such a low ADOT target dependent guy that I don't know if I really like him in any formats outside of PPR.
And I see Strong Sound Ninja in there with the Foot Clan assemble. I love it. Showing up. You just had to say it, and we got the Foot Clan assembling over there. Jail, what about you? What are you doing on this trade?
I'm gonna can you lay it out again? I forgot the
Curtis. This is what I'm talking about with Curtis Samuel. 11
Cordero
targets.
Patterson. Okay.
11 targets, 55 yards. 9 targets, 78 yards. 10 targets, 48 yards. Like, this guy is basically standing at or behind the line of scrimmage and just kind of the ball's getting flicked over there, and then he gets tackled. Like, that's his style of play. So in full PPR, though, 8, 7 receptions, awesome. But that yardage in other formats, meh.
Yeah, I think I would take the Kamara side of this.
This one's close for me. This one's closer than the last one, the James Conner, Rashad Bateman one. I really like Patterson rest of season, and in PPR, Samuel is interesting. I think I'm sticking with Patterson Samuel. Like, if that's what's on your team, I think that's the way I'm rolling here. But I think I'm higher on Patterson than most.
Yeah.
I'm definitely high on Patterson. I just think that his usage changes and he could lose value. I'm not going to expect this all season long. We saw them shift that strategy around last season, and I think they could do that again.
J-Wall in here saying, can you tell Coop to stop being so dang cute?
Stop
it. Oh, look at that cutie pie over there. And Brandon said, everyone thinks Kamara's coming back. LOL. It's half PPR, so not full PPR. Yeah, everyone thinks Kamara's coming back, and they're ready to go. But Coop, yeah, Tommy bringing it up again. Court cases win for Kamara. Like, that is something to consider.
They kick the can. So that's what they're doing. Is like they look at their record and say, do we want to eat the suspension now? Okay, kick the can to November. So now the court case is in November. If I'm confident that's what they're doing, is that, like, if at that point, they have a losing record, they might just say, okay, let's speed this up, get the suspension over with, and then next season we'll have them ready to go. If they're in the playoffs, they might just play it all the way out, and then it'll start next year with the suspension. We've seen it done multiple times by teams. Like, they're in charge of this. You know what I mean? When you're an NFL team, $1 billion organization that's part of another $1 billion organization. It's $1 billion teams that are part of a league that's worth multiple $1 billion, right? Like, you can do whatever you want. This court case is whatever day Kamara says it is.
Holy cow. I'm not a contract expert by any means, but
I am. So just lay it on me.
All right. I'm looking at Alvin Kamara's contract, and holy cow. Like, he's under contract. There is a potential out in 2024, but he's under contract until 2026. When he could become a free agent, and his base salary next year, $9.4 million, then $10.2 million in 2024, and then $22.4 million in 2025. That's pretty
so we're
high.
gonna have to wait a couple years for that Mark Ingram breakout. Then, if he's sitting there stuck behind Alvin Kamara,
he can be released in that 22. That's set up.
That 2024 is the potential out,
to be released, or renegotiated. And I think if he's going to be with the team, then you just renegotiate and add years, and then you spread that. You can spread it all out over the contract. So they know what they're doing over there.
Yeah. But, I think they're committed. Like, I think that's just more evidence into what you're saying, Coop, of, like, they want Kamara on this team.
Yeah. And they're, whether that's the only scary thing with Kamara is that if you have Kamara, you're rooting for the Saints to win the games, because, if at a certain point they could just say, let's eat the suspension so that he doesn't have to do it next year.
Yeah.
J-Wall in here with a really fun fact. I like this one. He said, fun fact, Patterson has more rushing yards than Fields has passing yards. Actually, you know what? I like the first half of that one, and I hate the second half of that one.
I was going to say.
Because those are two players that I love, both of them. Like,
Darnell Mooney. Fun. You got a Darnell Mooney and a Cole Kmet fan, and you're like, really fun fact. The dude throwing those guys the ball stinks.
Sucks.
You see, I'm just an optimist here, and I read this as a pro Patterson tweet and not an anti Fields tweet. But then as I read it out loud, I was like, could be both. Could be both. We had another question in here. Strong Style Ninja said, tight end spot this week, Everett or Schultz. So, JL, since you're the tight end guy here, would you be starting Gerald Everett or Dalton Schultz this week?
Oh, that is a good question. I am the tight end guy, so thank you for asking me.
Yeah, big tight end guy, John Luke Garofalo.
So Everett is playing the Houston Texans, and Schultz is playing the Washington Commanders. Schultz coming off that injury. I'm going Everett here. I'm going Everett against Houston. Slightly easier matchup. And I just want to see what Schultz does when coming back.
What about you, Coop?
It's not really big tight end guy, so I'm not sure if I should weigh in.
I have no thoughts.
Now,
also, Dalton Schultz has the Cooper Rush effect going on.
I'm with you guys on this one. That this is probably the changing of the guard week for you, where Keenan Allen's coming back from injury, but he might be limited a little bit. So this is probably your last chance to start Gerald Everett without a full Keenan Allen. And Schultz is coming back from injury himself. He might be limited. So you can get the last full Everett game in here. And then if Everett's not really doing anything once again, you just pivot to Schultz next week. But there's no sense in risking it with Schultz if you have Everett. If you had a worse option, then maybe you go Schultz, but we don't know what Schultz's usage is going to be like. So he's got a torn PCL, or a sprained PCL, kind of like Zeke played last year all year on a torn PCL, so you can play on it, but it's like there's no reason for them to push him to play every single snap, that's what we've always liked about Dalton Schultz, is he's one of the few guys that does play every snap when he's healthy, but I don't see why they would do that this week. So just wait until you see a Schultz game before you go.
Yeah. We had another tight end question in here from Tyler. He said Kittle or Everett this week, full PPR. So Cooper, are you rolling out Kittle?
George Kittle, man. He played a full snap share. He got 5 targets. Yep. Like, he's the dude. He's the guy, man. I had somebody ask me Tyler Conklin or George Kittle.
No,
you
stop it.
You outside of your mind, boy? Get George. If you have George Kittle, you start. Boy, you must be outside your mind.
And I just want to say, I don't care if Tyler Conklin outscores George Kittle this week. It's still the wrong decision to put him in your lineup over George Kittle. Like, Don't come back a week later and be like, yeah, well, Tyler Conklin had 3 touchdowns on 3 targets and George Kittle only had 1. Like, I don't care. Exactly. The face Coop just made. You can make the right decision and have the wrong outcome, but George Kittle is the right decision unless Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or maybe Darren Waller sitting on your lineup, right? Kyle Pitts.
Exactly.
I think the more important comment here from Tyler is everybody loves a big tight end. Wink.
Right.
We do love a big tight end, Tyler.
This is the big tight end show.
And that's what Tyler, this next comment, he said Hurst looked like a beast last night. Sucks there are so many mouths to feed. Yeah.
And butts to feed.
He did.
Hurst is he's such a good dude too, like raising money for mental health awareness and stuff. Dude, did you guys know that Hayden Hurst played professional baseball before football?
Yeah, and he had he had the condition where you get the yips. It's like the medical condition for the yips.
The yips are no joke, dude. I had the yips once. It felt like an entire summer, but it was like for 2 weeks or maybe even just 1 week. I played catcher.
1 hour.
It was an hour.
It was an hour and a half.
Like a time machine, dude. Yeah. Like this weekend when I was, we did so much party in Arizona that I was like, I lived in Arizona for a year this weekend.
For a year.
But when you have the yips, it does feel like, forever.
He's a Pirates pitcher, right? I think so.
Yes,
Pittsburgh
Pirates system. Yeah. I could not throw the ball back to the pitcher. That was the issue I was having as the catcher. I had no problem getting the ball. I could fire it down to second base. I could fire it to first base. But I just in my mind, I couldn't.
The mental game
throwing
of
it at his feet. I was throwing it over his head into the outfield. I just couldn't do it. Like my brain could not comprehend it.
I learned how to fix that, because I had the same issue. I played third base really competitively. I played baseball really competitively, and third base is my spot. And I got the yips essentially too, thrown to first base. And I wish I had learned it back then, but I learned it later on in life. Like I just had to go out and do it 1,000 times. And then you just got it's easier to get out of your head. But that stuff's hard, man. It's
how I got over it is that I did something I would never do, which is I would after I caught the ball, I would drop to my knees and then throw it, and that started working for me. And then after a while of doing that, all of a sudden I had no problem doing it, but I had to change it up, try a new
shortcut
rhythm.
Your brain. Yeah,
I had to reboot my brain, dude. But now when people make fun of who was the pitcher played for the Red Sox and then for the Cubs that couldn't throw it to first base, people would make fun of him for that, and I would be like, it's not funny, dude.
It's not funny.
That dude's brain is broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure if anybody in the chat, who is the pitcher that we went from the Red Sox to the Cubs? John Lester. Thank you, Ernie. John Lester could not throw it. Teams would just
Ernie coming in with the John Lester pull right there.
Ern dog in the chat.
Nice one.
Dog.
Yeah, he could not. Dude, teams would just bunt it right to him and be like, "I dare you," and he would just throw it in the stands.
Damn it. Every time.
John Lester, man.
Guys, coming up right after this, we have Juan Carlos Blanco joining the show to talk about some DFS plays, maybe some prop bets that we like for this upcoming week. And then we're going to keep on rolling, talking about the upcoming games on Sunday. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network.
Bettor Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
You can't be happy if you're a fan of Denver right now. I know they're 2-1. They look horrendous, man.
Well, how about this player? I almost put him in, and then Last second, took him out, figured I'd give him another week. What about Javonte Williams? Would he be a trend down type of player at this point? He's still getting the carries. He's running all right. He's just not storing. That's the problem. And the big thing is when you look at his production from a total basis, 11 passes week 1? It was a lot.
I think you stay the course with him. I know, again, people are so frustrated. Guys, why are you surprised, man? We all know Javonte Williams is the best player in that backfield. It's clear. But people who play fantasy need to understand there are, and I said this before the year, there are certain players that coaches love. Melvin Gordon is one of those players. Is he as dynamic, explosive? No. But he does a lot of the little things that coaches love. Those guys are going to get their touches. You have to understand that. So should Javonte Williams be the main back? Yeah. And we've started to see it shift a little bit. I know you're frustrated because Gordon got the touchdown, but I don't know why you're surprised by this. They told you this before the year. It was more like 50-50 last year. It's not now. You can't sit here and complain about it. Like, you act like this came out of nowhere. I can't believe Melvin Gordon is playing snaps.
You're not talking about me, are you?
No. Anyone who is sitting there and is just stunned that Javonte Williams is not getting, like, all these snaps. Now, could it get better as the season goes along and they start to go, you know what? Javonte's more explosive. We need him on the field now. I mean, they're 2-1, okay? So that's the problem with some of these teams that win games. They think, oh, we won, so everything is good. But let's look at the snaps. So Javonte Williams played 33. Melvin Gordon played 28. The biggest problem is Mike Boone played 14. That I don't get. Javonte Williams and Gordon each ran 13 routes. Boone, 11. 5 targets for Williams, 6 for Melvin Gordon. Javonte had 15 carries. Gordon, 12. Javonte Williams had 20 looks. So he had 15 carries, 5 targets, and he caught 3 passes. So he had 18 touches. You're going to complain about a running back getting 18 touches? Come on, man. He's better than Melvin Gordon, no doubt. But Javonte's not getting 35 touches. They had the ball a lot last night. Does it suck that they took him out near the goal line? Absolutely.
Straight eye formation. They hand it up to Gordon, running left. Gordon into the end zone. Touchdown, Denver.
This is not anything shocking here.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network. Coop, is that an owl on your shirt? Is that like a Norse owl you got going on down there?
Yeah, it is an owl. This is a Night Shift Brewery, local Boston brewery.
The Barrel Society.
The Barrel.
Dude. Yeah. I'm part of the Barrel Society, dude.
I feel like owls had like a time in the limelight where like it was like the owl phase for everyone. Like llamas had a time where people were like, llamas are on everything, right? Roosters had their heyday in the early 2000s, and then like owls have been on a hot streak recently, right?
Rooster Watch, I remember that.
Drake with the OVO.
OVO, yeah.
Owl sweaters inside her luggage. You gotta love
into
it.
the mainstream.
Yeah, owls are super back. Me and Drake, kind of the two guys bringing owls back. I think a lot of people, it's like they think owls, they think Drake first probably, and then Coop almost immediately next.
And then those lollipop commercials with that one
There
owl.
would be lollipop commercials. Yeah. How many licks does it take? I don't know, but I do have an owl shirt.
A 2, a 3. I hate how that stupid owl counts.
A 4 licks to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. All of a sudden, I became like not the owl anymore.
Should we do
the terrifying?
Should we just do that? Can we just do that until the end of the show? Just
what?
A 5, a 6, a 7.
Imagine if the announcers did that as like a player was running down the field, like a 1 yard, a 2, a 3. Man, and now I'm becoming German. I don't know what's happening with these accents.
You've lost it. Why don't you bring it back home with your English accent that you're terrified to do?
Chip, chip, cheerio. There has a question for us. Have PPR, start 2, McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Sanders, Dobbins, or Bateman. Which 2 would you start?
Wow.
You want to talk a bit
not being
about
able to do it to just being like a freaking savant at it.
Yo, I've been practicing.
You want to talk a bit about Bateman, eh?
I've just been watching a lot of Great British Baking Show, and I consider that practicing right there.
Okay, I actually wasn't listening. Can you give us the
I was so focused on your accent.
Have PPR, start 2. McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Sanders, Dobbins, Bateman, and Ramondre Stevenson. B-Kings came in and added another name as well. So Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Rashad Bateman, and Ramondre Stevenson. You got to start 2.
My brain immediately says McLaurin and Bateman. But
what's your heart say? What's your hog say, Coop?
My heart and my hog belong to Bateman. But you can't start Garrett Wilson first game back with Zach Wilson, especially because he's not playing a full snap share. Like, we're still kind of are chasing that 2-touchdown game. I don't think it's realistic. McLaurin and Bateman play every snap. And I think it's a good game script this week for Bateman. So the question for me is about Miles Sanders, whether I'm going to play him over either of those guys. Would you play Miles? I mean, because I can't trust Dobbins either. He didn't really play. He's being eased back in, right? And the Bills are a tough matchup. So, would you guys start Miles Sanders over either McLaurin or Bateman? I've chiseled this question down to a smaller question for my friends here. So, boys,
it's McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Sanders, and you're saying Sanders over Dobbins.
I think I'm
McLaurin?
starting. I think Sanders over Dobbins for me. So I'm starting McLaurin and Bateman. Would you start Sanders over either of those guys? Because I would accept that as a possibility.
I'm definitely starting Bateman. It's McLaurin that I'm having like debates on. Is it McLaurin or is it Sanders? JL, which one are you plugging in there?
Half PPR. Sorry,
Gotta start Terry McLaurin, man. Can't not.
Yeah, he's close though.
He's run the 5th most routes of any wide receiver in the league. He's out there every snap. It's like you got to give yourself a chance at upside by playing the guys that play every snap. Like, we're not virtually every team has 3 wide receivers that play like pretty much every snap, and he is 5th of all those guys. We're talking 5th out of like, not a big math guy, but almost 100 guys. Almost 100 guys. He's 5th. Like, it's just hard to go away from that guy. I don't know how you could do it.
I hear you. Yeah. I'll go McLaurin. You convinced me, Coop. Jill, what about you?
I'll go Sanders and Bateman. I'll go Sanders and Bateman. And the reason being, Bateman and McLaurin for me are very close. And so the tiebreaker is going to be the matchup. And Vegas has the total for the Baltimore-Buffalo game at 51 and the Washington-Dallas game at 41.5. And so I'm gonna take my bet on the higher scoring game, and the game I think is most likely to be a higher scoring game.
I think that's fair. And that's why I was like, I wanted to hear your opinion on the Sanders one, because I could be sold on that. And yeah, if it wasn't for Jalen Hurts stealing all the touchdowns, I think it would be an easy Miles Sanders, right?
You think Miles Sanders has trouble against this Jacksonville defense?
No, I don't think he does.
This elite Jacksonville defense?
I think Miles Sanders is going to do an amazing job of bringing the ball down to the 5-yard line so that Jalen Hurts can walk into the end zone like he does every time.
We had an interesting question from Tyler here. He said, any tips to abusing footballers info plus peaked charts to find undervalued players as target trade candidates? The whole league uses the peaked charts for trades. So that's the real kicker in this question, I think, is like, if the whole league is using these charts for trades, JL, where are you looking for like maybe that extra bit of information? Or are you just viewing this as like, that's an easy league to trade in?
No, this goes. We were talking about it when Alex came on to our show on Wednesday. We were talking about this phenomenon, but you got to remember, these trade value charts that he's putting out are not. They're not what the players are, what their value is going ahead. It's just market value, right? It's telling you how the general public feels about these players and their value and how that's moving over time. And so that's great that your entire league is using this, because that gives you a common language to use, right? And so the way I'm using those charts and the footballers or any other popular site out there where it's affecting your league mates, or your league mates listen to these guys, is you're playing your league mates. You got to think like another dimension ahead. You're playing your league mates, and so go into those charts, the trade value charts, and look at players who are trending downward. That trend column is the biggest part, like crucial part of this. Go find that trend column and find guys that you know are going to bounce back, right? Who it's variance that's pushing that trend down or recency bias, and then go target those players.
Yeah, I mean, you could even go and look at last week's trade chart, because these trade charts they don't have no bias to them really. Like, and Alex will admit that he doesn't always agree with the chart, but like guys will jump up and jump down this chart week to week, right? So if you go back and look at last week's chart, you can see guys like that have jumped like
Boing, boing,
crazy
boing,
in
boing.
1 week. Yeah, and if you're feeling good about that player, use the chart to your advantage in any given week.
Yeah.
We have another question from Mark Yasko in here. What's up, Yasko? Welcome in. He says, I got a complex trade for you boys. Oh, we're ready. Okay, you guys ready?
It is.
Put your thinking caps on. It's complex. I'm in desperate need of an RB2. I'm trading Diggs and Jamison Williams for Javonte Williams, Chris Olave, and Ramondre Stevenson, who wins. So, Yasko, I'm not sending Diggs away for Javonte Williams, Olave, and Ramondre. Like, I just feel like to send Diggs away, I need a running back that is the lead running back on their team, not Javonte Williams. I don't know about you guys, but this is too much for me to give up to get Javonte and Ramondre.
I don't love divesting, which is what you're doing here. Like a divestment trade needs to be done in a way, in a time where it makes sense, right? And that time is typically when your team is so, or when you're in a league where depth becomes more valuable. So like you have to start way more guys, or it's a larger team, more teams in the league, so that your talent isn't as good. In those situations, I'm okay divesting some of your high value assets for more distributed value from multiple assets. In most cases, that I'm not looking to make that trade. I'm looking for the best player, because you're going to be able to fill in from other events throughout the season, whether that's waiver wire, whether that's trading. You're going to be able to get that value. You want to keep those high value. You want to retain that as much as you can.
I just wish I knew who his RB2 is now, because then
ETN.
ETN. Okay. So it's Diggs and ETN versus, in you lineup wise, Diggs and ETN versus Olave and Javonte Williams. I think I still like and I love Olave. I think he looks awesome. But we're not this week. You're probably not going to get the Olave that we're used to, because is Jameis playing? He has not. He's not showing up at practice.
So let's see. I've got the injury report pulled up here, and I think you're right. We didn't see him at practice. Jameis Winston, did not participate in practice. I can't imagine he'll be out there on the field.
So you're going to get red rifle Olave this week? I don't know. I'm sticking with. I'd stick with Diggs and ETN, especially after Scott Fish dropped those stats about wide receivers going crazy on the Ravens. Like Diggs could win you your matchup this week if it just stays the way it's been. Diggs could just outright win you your matchup.
And we're seeing Michael Thomas just ruled out for week 4 as well. Tyler said, and he didn't practice on Thursday either. So
Jarvis Landry was limited too.
It might be rough for the Saints out in London. Wake up early just to watch that could be a boring game as well, with how good the Saints defense is, and then how beat up this offense is, and the red riffle in there trying to get things going. Like, what are you gonna do? Wake up at 8:30 just to watch like a 10-7 game in London? That's
exactly what I'm gonna do.
I was gonna say that is exactly what I'm gonna do as well. I don't care.
Yeah, it's just work.
Ben YouTuber in here had a question for us. Thoughts on Aaron Jones for Justin Herbert and Najee Harris. So Aaron Jones for Herbert and Najee. Jail, I know you generally, I'm assuming this is one quarterback, don't like trading for quarterbacks in one QB leagues, but what are you thinking about this trade?
Yeah, I almost never trade for quarterbacks in one QB leagues unless my team is so stacked that the biggest edge I can grind out is by upgrading that quarterback position. But typically the value above replacement is just not high enough for quarterbacks in one QB leagues. So I'm not going to trade a skill position, like value I have at a skill position to upgrade that quarterback position. None of this applies if you're talking about Superflex. So throw that out. Aaron Jones for Justin Herbert and Najee Harris. Najee Harris and Aaron Jones to me are so even. I make this trade though.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
it's a free Herbie.
I know Najee doesn't have the fantasy points that we would hope for and expect so far, but I mean, it's close enough, right?
Watch the games. They're giving him the ball, like they want to give him the ball. But you're right. It's not showing up in the box score.
In Jail's league, where you get points for how they eye test. He's been doing
it's how they
just fine.
Just got to predict somehow, right?
So
you gotta get your edge somewhere.
Herbert. Thing is, Justin Herbert's all banged up too. But still, Aaron Jones is splitting. His ceiling. We talk about this with Javonte Williams too, where there's no reason for them to give 30 carries to either Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon. So even when they're crushing teams, situations that should be amazing, the ceiling's capped. So I would do it.
Dustin in here saying red riffle. Simon just said that and you let it slide. There was a comment in here yesterday where someone typed riffle instead of rifle. We're just riffing on that. We're just rifing on that is what we're doing, is rifing on that comment.
Yesterday we got all the way down to calling him Rod Ruffles. So red riffle, at least it's still in the neighborhood. We went all the way off the rails yesterday. So.
Ooh, yeah, he's joining Milky Trubilky over there. Also, Ben YouTuber said, my biggest hole is absolutely QB. Well, Ben, my biggest hole is definitely my mouth. But he said one quarterback league, RB1 is CMC, receivers are CD Kirk, AJ Brown, and St. Brown. Yeah, then I think this trade makes sense for you to get rid of Aaron Jones and bring over Herbert and Najee Harris. If your biggest hole is beautiful. Tyler in here had a question for us. He said, trade Zeke for Bateman. Okay, here we go. I feel like all of our questions are always like, do I bench Bateman? Do I trade Bateman away? Like, it's never given to Bateman. Now it's for Bateman is what Tyler wants to know. Trade Zeke for Bateman. Need a better wide receiver 3. Cooks just isn't cutting it. And I'm RB heavy with CMC, Patterson, Hunt, and Zeke. JL,
Patterson, Hunt, and Zeke.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, see, I mean, running back heavy, yes, but also there's a back core. I think this trade is fair. I think it's completely fair. So it comes down to what you believe. I think Brandon Cooks will bounce back this season, but Bateman is certainly an upgrade, and so I'm okay making this trade.
In the wise words of Senator Palpatine, do it.
Do it. The wise words of Senator Palpatine.
Zeke, I'm a big Zeke fan, but they're splitting it right down the middle. You know what I mean? Like Zeke gets the goal line work, but Pollard gets all the fun carries, so he gets all the fun touches. Like
all the fun touches.
Like you might get at your uncle's house.
Fun touches.
So yeah, but Bateman is the top wide receiver. He's playing a big snap share, and I think we haven't seen the ceiling yet for Bateman. So I would do it, especially since you need help at the position. It's about as fair a swap as you can get. If you look at
super fair trade,
if you look at Peaks in high school's chart, they're at the same hog level.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just going based off the intuition, but that's cool that the market also agrees with that.
Market agrees. Zeke on the chart is like 20. And Bateman is like 18.5. So it's right there.
Absolutely. I see Tyler saying, I'm so sick of watching Hunt carry the Browns up the field just for Chubb to get the goal line work. Feels so bad. Dude, look at the yardage totals for Chubb as well, though. Like, that's not all just goal line work for him. He's getting up there. He's got to be near the top of the league right now, right? He's had a couple big games, but I don't know who's up there. What do you think? Do you think Hunt's doing all the work? Hunt's carrying the water and Chubb's just punching it in, Coop?
Has Nick Chubb tried? Has Kareem Hunt ever tried? He should try being 230 pounds of pure muscle. Then it might be a little easier to give him the ball.
You ever thought of that?
You ever tried that, Kareem? Yeah. I think they like what they have there. Pass catching back, bruiser back. I don't see why they would change it, my man. I know it sucks in fantasy football, but
it's working.
And Nick Chubb does have the most rushing yards in the league right now, 341 rushing yards for Nick Chubb. So he's doing a little bit more than just punching it in at the goal line. But I get what you're saying, Tyler. It is frustrating to see Hunt put together a beautiful drive and then they get down there and it's like
Chubb has 30 pounds on him. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. It's just not gonna be the same guy over there. We had a question in here from Baby J235. What's up, Baby J? Welcome,
Baby G.
He said, I have 2 spots for 5 running backs. So you better squish them in there pretty tight then. He said, who should I start this week? Okay, so he only wants to start 2 of them, not fit all 5 in there. Michael Carter, Alexander Madison, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kareem Hunt, or David Montgomery. Said Mixon already went for me. So I'm guessing one of these is going to be his flex. Which 2 of those 5 would you be starting, JL? Michael Carter, Madison, CEH, Hunt, or Montgomery?
Carter, Madison. Who are the other ones?
CEH, Hunt, and Montgomery.
Edwards-Helaire. Okay, I'm just pulling up their matchups. David Montgomery.
Carter, Madison, CEH, Hunt, or Montgomery.
I think you got to lock in CEH. He's been playing well. It is a tough matchup against Tampa Bay. They've been one of the best defenses against the run. Who else do I want to say? Maybe it's Michael
playing.
Carter after that. Dalvin Cook is playing, right? He's playing with the brace.
Full participant in practice on Thursday.
So you can't start Madison.
Can't start Madison. No, I'm going Carter and CEH.
Yeah, I think so too. The thing with Nick Chubb is that, well, the Falcons are a better team than people give them credit for. So maybe it could be a Kareem Hunt game script. He needs negative game scripts, right? Like
the Browns are only 1.5 point favorites in this game. Like it's not like Vegas, and the line is set at 47.5, so a little bit above. It's a 1.5 point favorite for the Cleveland Browns. That's my bad. I should have said it 3 more times. But Hunt is in there. So I think I'm going Hunt and CEH and leaving Michael Carter on the bench for me.
Yeah, I'd go Hunt and CEH too.
I like that too. Yeah. Do it.
Now that I know Hunt's there.
Hunt and CEH. Getting the game, Tommy saying Cook shoulder, tough injury for running back. Bet Cook plays 3 downs. But we've seen this before. Last season, shoulder injury, and Dalvin Cook comes out and runs for like 200 yards. He's just the kind of player, if he's a full participant and he's playing, I'm plugging him in. And I'll just eat the L if he only plays 3 downs. What about you guys? Like, if you have Dalvin Cook, are you playing him?
Yes. He's too good. And it's just, like we said, they left a note on the door saying Dalvin Cook every play and don't use Alexander Madison ever, because that seems to be what every coach that's coached this team has operated that way. So I don't see why it wouldn't be Dalvin.
We got Matt Deutsch in the chat. Matt, better boss, saying buy low on Allen Robinson now. JL, do you think Allen Robinson's a buy low, or Coop?
He's our boss, so guess we have to. Not much. Yeah. So, well, Allen, unless you think Tyler Higbee is going to all of a sudden continue to be like the second target on that team, somebody has to step up. So it's going to be Allen Robinson or Van Jefferson. It's not going to be Ben Skowronek. So one of those guys is going to get a decent chunk of work. I think it's Allen Robinson. And so I'm interested in buying low. I just don't want to give up too much for him. The problem with guys like that is that there's name value attached. You still have to pay for the name value.
Yeah, I don't know what the disconnect is. If it's that offensive line that's keeping Allen Robinson limited here, but his wide receiver target share over weeks 1 through 3 is 8% week 1, 22% week 2, and then 26% in week 3. I want to see that increase some, right? If he's the guy that we think he is, I'd want to see that increase some. But at least he's playing, almost all the snaps, which is great. He's got 20% of the team's total target share. Which is decent. So I do think it could be a buy low opportunity for Allen Robinson. It just depends what you think about that offensive line.
I'll tell you what I'm seeing, which is I think teams are using the same cover 2 shell that they've used against the Chiefs and they use against the Bills, where they're basically saying, we're not going to let you throw it deep. You throw it underneath if you feel like it. And the Rams are taking the low-hanging fruit, just throwing it to Cooper Kupp, dumping it down to Tyler Higbee. And that's hurting Allen Robinson. It is making Tutu Atwell invisible. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. That's how teams beat the Lions all last year. Is they basically said, "Go ahead and throw it underneath. We don't care." And the Lions spent all game just dumping it down to Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then all of a sudden the game was over, and they only won 3 games on the season. You have to find a way to beat. If the defense is trying to make you do something, you can't just take that, because that's how they beat you. So. I think they really have to start moving the ball downfield to Allen Robinson. They can't just keep doing what they're doing.
Man, but maybe they just don't know what I mean? Like from what we're seeing so far. And last year we kept thinking Allen Robinson has to get more involved with the Bears, right? And man, it's just been rough. I thought after week 1, okay, but he's open out there. He's getting the targets. Maybe it's still going to be him. But then we watch him out there and he's getting those targets in the end zone and he's dropping them. Like he's dropping passes. It seems like he's losing trust, not gaining it. I'm willing to trade for him, but not anywhere near that name value price. I'm trading scraps for Allen Robinson to put him on the back of the bench because of what we know his upside is, but I'm not paying up at all. There's no premium being added because his name's Allen Robinson.
Scott Fish said Van Jefferson put on IR last week. Wow. I didn't see that. So Allen Robinson, man, he's got to be the dude. He kind of has to be.
We got a question from Home Running here. He said Josh Jacobs or Jeff Wilson in a full PPR flex. So John Luke, you plug in Jeff in for probably like 18 carries, 75 yards, and maybe a touchdown? Are you plugging in Josh Jacobs?
Josh Jacobs. Last week, we got the whole roller coaster ride from Josh Jacobs on whether he'd play or not. He did. He got a decent amount of the workload. This week, he's got Denver, which is a very tough run defense. And Jeff Wilson's playing the Rams, also a very tough run defense. Both these guys do not have good matchups. Yeah. Jeff is playing on Monday, so that could factor in. If you need a Monday start, you might lean towards Jeff Wilson. These guys are pretty close for me. I'm going to actually go Jeff Wilson on Monday over Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, it's very close. I was going to say Jacobs. But Jeff Wilson's playing like every snap. So it's so close, man. Let me Simon, what do you think on this one? I'm pulling up my my notes on this one right now.
I'm going Jacobs. I just feel like there's a little bit more upside for Josh Jacobs. I know it is a tough run defense, but I expect them to win this game. And Vegas agrees they're 2.5-point favorites at home, but maybe Josh Jacobs gets a little bit more involved. They pull ahead early, and we see Josh Jacobs have a decent game here.
Yeah. The Broncos.
And then Tommy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Got my notes here now. Broncos number 2 defense in points per game allowed, number 3 in yards per game allowed. Rushing yards per game, they are number 6. So very good. With the Rams, the Rams are allowing 20 points per. They're 20th in points per game, and in rushing yards per game, they're 10th. They're allowing a little more. So I think I do like Jeff Wilson in that one. I think the Rams are a little bit of a softer run defense than the Raiders. It just stinks that Trent Williams is hurt, because that's the he's the best lineman in the league. That's why you name your kid Trent, dude. One of the Trents.
Yeah. Always Trent. Tommy said Raiders versus Broncos. Who you got? I think Jacobs gets his full share in this game. And then he followed it up with Vegas throws 70% of the time. Need to change that to win. So I'm with you, Tommy. Like, this is not a bad Raiders team. They got to change it. Jacobs is already the guy getting most of the work at the running back position. Like, I think this is a get-right game for the Raiders and for Josh Jacobs. Do you guys think the Raiders or the Broncos win this game? Over-under set at 45.5. Raiders 2.5-point favorites at home.
That's the all-time oxymoron, like the not oxymoron, but it's like the catch-22, Tommy. It's that. Is it that you need to run to win, or is that when you're winning, it's easier to run, right? Like,
what came first?
Yeah, the chicken or the egg, right? You're chasing your own tail egg on that one. But I think, they got to get the run game going. They have one of the worst lines in the league. The Raiders do. That's the problem.
Yep. I see a question in here from Caden. Caden says, should I trade Jay Williams, Mike Williams, and Godwin for Metcalf, Hall, and Keenan Allen? Caden, unfortunately, we're going to need a little bit more information on Jay Williams, because that could be Jamison Williams, it could be Jamal Williams, and it could be Javonte Williams.
It's got to be Javonte. If Metcalf,
you think it's Javonte?
If Metcalf and Godwin are the deal, it's got to be, dude. Otherwise,
okay. Let's assume Javonte right there. What are you doing in this one if that is Javonte?
I don't think I'm making that trade. I'd rather just like Godwin and Metcalf to me are
scary.
Godwin, like slightly, pretty much a wash, maybe slightly in the DK favor. Hall and Javonte are in the Javonte Williams favor, but not that far off. And then I'd rather have Mike Williams than Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I'm not doing that trade.
Rapid fire on this one from Ben YouTuber. He said Jacobs over Chuba if CMC is out this week. Then I'm starting Josh Jacobs over Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba has had many opportunities to be good, and he has not been good. Sorry, Linda. And Oklahoma State fans. Chuba has not been good.
Guys, everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning and every other morning throughout the week. Good news. If you want more of us, you don't have to wait that long. On Sunday, Coop is live from 9 to 11 a.m. with the Fantasy Alarm Show with your boy in Pembo, right? On Sunday mornings. And we are live with Joey, JL, and I over there with Joey right after that from 11 to 1. So make sure you tune in then. Right after this, Moose and Keith coming up. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Bettor Sports Network. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy your Sunday football, everyone.
Bye-bye. See you Sunday.
Yeehaw.